What is up, YouTube? Herozin here, and not too long ago we had a glorious boost to mating, maturation, and incubation during the Valentine's Day holiday, and so that ran for a week and some odd days. And I gotta say, I'm not really a fan of breeding, but I did some breeding during this year's event, and I really enjoyed the boosted raids and the boosted imprinting mechanic, although I would prefer to see it change to not be so time intensive, but something that's more resource intensive and over a longer period of time. But whatever, that's here nor there. And so yeah, this was my incubation room. It's a little bit damaged because I may have had some issues with it, so it didn't quite go as I had intended, mainly because this area was not built for a large volume of dinos. As I said, I am not really a fan of normal breeding, so I built this room as kind of an AFK area and for maybe 1 or 2 eggs. And now it does that pretty well. Let's see here. My hypothermal is 2,401, and my hyperthermal is 2,155. So we do get decent hypothermal and hyperthermal resistance in here. So it does okay, but I try to do a large volume of Giganotosauruses in here, or Gigas, whichever you prefer, or my guy, guys. Yeah, no, we'll pretend I don't say that. But yeah, and it did not go so well, and I tried really hard to get them out of here, but because of their wonky hitboxes when they're babies and the way I have this set up being kind of in the way when things are trying to get out, that was the problem, that they didn't want to get out. So my original intention for this was to raise them in the middle here and have them surrounded by the air conditioners, and then have them walk through this gap down here, open this dino door, open the next dino door, and then have them fall to the ground. That was the original plan, and for little stuff that worked pretty well. Big things, not so well. So what I decided to do was, you know what, in the hopes that maybe they'll change breeding for the better, and hopefully imprinting as well, to not be so time intensive but more resource intensive, I've decided and have done a better and bigger breeding room. Never mind my mess of a base right now. Kind of a little bit of a remodel going on, but yeah, I decided to build a actually decent incubation and maturation for those mammals, you know. But yeah, this is my new and improved incubation area, and these are the eggs that I acquired during the increased rates from my dinos. So, you know, I did a little bit of breeding, just a teeny weensy bit. It sounds like something's hatching. What's hatching? All right, what we gotta figure out what just hatched in this mess. Oh, my Lystro. It looks like my baby Lystro died. I have some turtles, so that's okay. All these turtles could, yeah, go to their merry way. What level are you even? Yeah, these are all junk turtles, so. Welcome to your demise, turtles. And so yeah, perfect timing. So as my turtles hatch from their shell and meet their sad fates of being starved to death. We'll take a better look at this horde of eggs that I acquired trying to get those boxes of chocolates. And I did get a decent amount of box of chocolates, so there is that. And so yeah, that is my massive accumulation of the dirty time or the fun time, whatever you prefer to call it, between some giant or little dinos. So we'll just let these guys try to escape. Maybe they'll find some food somewhere. My level 13 baby turtle. Let's see, what else did we have here? If I could get through these turtles. Yeah, well, I really don't care about most of these. The Giga eggs and the Rex eggs and my Ankylo eggs. But everything else, most of my... I mean, these were just low-level dinos that I bred together to, as I said, to get boxes of chocolate. So most of these are pretty junk. Oh, and I have found a way to mount Giga heads, you know, new trophies. You can mount Rex heads and, well, Alpha Rex heads. But I figured out a way, as you can see, to mount Giga heads. So yeah, they're also animated too. They move and yeah. We'll just pretend I said that. So we'll go over my my successful breeding tames that came out to a full maturation. Unlike these turtles, we won't look at. Sad times to wait for them. So we'll start with my Quetzals. I wasn't really too sure about breeding them. When the event first came out, I didn't really anticipate how much the time reduction was. And so at the start, I was kind of apprehensive of starting such long, tames, really not tames, but maturations. And so I ended up just being like, whatever. And after some failed Giga attempts, I was like, you know what? If a Giga isn't that difficult, then Quetzal should be easier than them. So I ended up raising 3 of my best Quetzals. And so I ended up imprinting them to 97%. So they did end up becoming my newest, best Quetzals. So I guess I got some decent Quetzals out of them. The only thing that's been upped on them is the weight so far. So the HP is all base after imprinting. So the weight, they were each, this one was at 1,400 if I remember correctly. Probably should have marked it down, but it really doesn't matter because imprinting bonuses don't carry over for mating. So after imprinting, it was around 1,400, and these were like 1,382, so almost 14. And these were twins, and this was a single hatch. And we'll move on to my first attempt, the only survivor of a batch of about 12. Of breeding and maturing a Giganotosaurus. And so this was my first attempt. And the only one that survived, as I said, out of a batch of around 12. Now this had a base of 150%. Not the highest, but it is what it is. It is my currently second highest base melee. My highest is 180. My second highest is 150. In the batch that this one managed to survive of, I did get a mutation of 160, but that one ended up dying. So this one I did get to 56%. I did skip a whole lot of imprintings just because of the length of this. I really didn't want to stay up for the 5 days that it took. over and over to constantly imprint on this. Now, I did end up changing my mind a little bit after this one matured, and I was like, you know what? That wasn't that bad. So I did another batch between my 180 and my 150, but this one only came out as 150, unfortunately. And so I ended up getting this one to 94%. So yes, I did meticulously time my sleeping and other necessities for being a human, actual human being in real life. So I did end up getting this to 94%, which is yeah, something. Only during increased breeding. Definitely not going to attempt that with normal rates. So then I was like, after my first batch of Gigas, I was like, okay. And I decided to do a batch of Ankylo. Now, my original Ankylo, I had imprinted to 100% on a different character. Now, this isn't my original character. My original character was only named Atrox. Or Atrox. But it kind of decided to go to a higher plane 2 days after Scorched Earth came out, and I may have tried to transfer back to this server, and it may have failed to download. So I did lose my 30% riding bonus, so I was like, okay, Valentine's Day, perfect time to reacquire my 30% riding bonus. Now, because the rates were so insanely boosted, even without missing a single imprinting, the max you could get was 98% on Ankylo. But that doesn't really mean much, because evidently 98% is exactly what you needed. If you look in the top right hand corner, as you can see, imprinting 98%, damage 30%, and resistance 30%. Now if you hold H, you get these stats in game while on the dyno. So even at 98%, you still get the 30% damage increase. Now that isn't necessarily true for something, let's say a Pterodon. Hold H again in the top right corner at 97%. Actually, I guess it might be true for this too, because it's 97. So if it was 98, I probably would have got the 30%. So 98 seems to be the sweet spot for at least Ankylo and Pterodons for your full 30%. So you don't necessarily need 100%. And so after these three matured, I was like, well, that was pretty easy. And honestly, imprinting all of them to 98%, because I was also doing a Giga alongside it. So these were relatively easy compared to that. So I was like, okay, well, you know what? Let's do another batch, or 2 or 3 or 4. You know, I may have went a little bit overboard on the amount of Ankylo I needed, but since I did lose my original tragically to a error that technically wasn't my fault, I kind of was like, okay, yeah, let's get myself a few extra. So yeah, I decided to do quite a bit of batches of Ankylo, and so they are all relatively from my main 2, which I'm going to show you right now. So these are the 2 that I lost the imprinting bonus on. If I could get up there, let's see, I'm gonna jump on this Terra. And so maybe I could jump on it. Nope, went too far to the right. Alright. Okay, so I'm gonna just fell. Trying to get over to them. We'll do one last try. Jump on this Terra. Okay, there we go. There we go, alright. So 3rd time's the charm. So these are my original that I lost my imprinting bonus on. So this one is actually my highest. Now they were twins, and so the rest of them may have came from this line, and then some of them for the continuation of the other lines. But yeah, they started at 369.3% melee. If I remember correctly, that should be accurate. And around 5k HP without imprinting. After imprinting, it's around 400% something, and 6,552.1 HP since I haven't touched HP. But as I said, the reason I did so many was because I did, as you see, no ride beam bonus. And then at the very end, I decided to do a whole bunch of terras. Now, my terras are not really spectacular on stat-wise, I should say. So these aren't currently, I want to say, in competition to be around the higher levels, but they do have okay stats for my purposes. Melee is pretty good on them. HP and stamina could be higher. Oxygen, well, we won't question that oxygen stuff right there. That's pretty godly, actually. And so, like, I mean, look at this sad oxygen right here. Oxygen is where it's at, right? So, I did manage to fully imprint or imprint as much as you could during the actual event. Which I will add to the end portion of this video, my accumulation of boxes of chocolates and just the issues I had with my old maturation area and me imprinting my dinos. And I also did 2 dire bears, which did manage to get to 100%. Besides this one, for some reason, oh yeah, this one missed one imprinting. I was a little bit late on imprinting for this one. And yeah, so this is pretty much what I did during the Valentine's Day event. I did get a decent amount of dinos out of it. As I said, my pterodons are nothing really special. The dire bears were just something I had on, why not. The Ankylo I'm happy with. I got backup on top of backup of Ankylo. Just I won't be losing this character. I did learn my lesson. This character no longer transfers. I did get a decent Giga and Quetzals out of it, so I'm really happy with them. So I really enjoyed Valentine's Day for 2017 in ARK. So yeah, I'm quite happy with the way my new Quetzals turned out and my new prize Giga. This is now my best Giga. Decent HP, good melee, not the best. There is some pretty insane melee going on out there. But 28% plus damage and resistance for that 94% imprinting. So, and I also have my new beautiful maturation area and incubation room. Oh no, we don't need to look at that. We'll just we'll clean this up real quick. Okay, or not. We just won't look at them. Now, if you have turrets in your maturation area, make sure they're set to players only. You don't want any accidents if they're set to players and tames. They will, in fact, shoot at your unclaimed babies once they start to hatch if they're on tames and players. So either wild only, actually they might, I don't know if they'll shoot on wild only, I doubt it, but only players only to ensure that they won't shoot at your future possible tames. And so yeah, I'm going to add the rest of my experiences with the Valentine's Day event at this point. So yeah, I hope you enjoy watching me struggle to get large dinos out of my tiny maturation room, and me meticulously scheduling my time to imprint. And as just a plea to Wildcard, thank you for your very fun and addictive game. And I'm currently starving. And please revisit breeding and imprinting. It needs a little bit more love and polish as it stands right now. As far as the breeding goes, maybe a little bit less on the food consumption and a little bit not Valentine's Day rates, because that is pretty insane and should definitely be an event only, but a boost from the normal would definitely be appreciative, definitely for people like myself who aren't really into breeding, even though it is insanely beneficial, that would like to get into breeding if it was a little bit more manageable. And definitely imprinting needs some love. That is something that's definitely needs some love. That is way too time intensive. Definitely needs to become more resource intensive and less time intensive, so you could actually get a full night's rest without having to wake up every 3 to 4 hours because of the random incubation, or not incubation, but imprinting times that you're going to get while attempting to imprint Dino. So I would like to see an imprinting time between 1 to 8 hours. Just a higher imprint, but a longer period in between. And something that's a little bit more costly. Maybe 5 kibble per imprint. Just, I don't know, it needs some polishing. But yeah, thank you for the event, and thanks for the game. And as far as YouTube, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy the next part. What is up, YouTube? Herozin here, coming at you with another video after a teeny weensy little break of 4 years. Oh god, it's been 4 years. Anyway, I decided to make a 2 hour and 30 minute plus video of my Valentines Day event in ARK in 2017. Oh god, 4 years. And so most of the video is me breeding and collecting eggs and trying to get the boxes of chocolates, as I said earlier in the video. And it's been sped up because the event lasted a week and some odd days, and so a lot of it doesn't have any audio. So I've decided to do a little bit of commentary, because I lied in the beginning of the video where I said I was remodeling my base. Well, I sort of lied. I really was remodeling the base. But the reason most of my dinos and the base was in disarray was because I believed at the time that there was a high chance that precision was going to wipe it off the face of the map. Now you're probably asking yourself, why would precision, the people that came to help defend your base in your 6,900 hour base movie video wipe tour thingy, we're going to wipe your base before that? Well, there was a little bit of ARK drama happening around that time. And so it's a very simple situation, but since I have 2 hours and 30 plus minutes of content and other stuff and things, so I've pretty much decided to give you the long drawn out version of things that sort of pertained to my choosing sides, or specifically not choosing sides. So essentially the short of it is, somebody done goofed. But we're not here for the short of it, are we? Because I have a 2 hour and 30 plus minute video. So the long of it is, we have to go all the way back to the beginning. When I first joined the official server 321 in ARK Survival Evolved. So where to start? Okay, well, let's start with the layout of how the map was pretty much laid out at the time. So at the base of the volcano was my base in all of its glory. Not really, it was kind of pathetic back then. I think it was pretty similar to my 1600 hour base tour video, minus a layer of behemoth gates, or a second layer of behemoth gates. I don't know what did I get up to, 4 layers. Anyway, And at the top of the volcano, now the volcano didn't have the caldera. Well, it did have the caldera, but it didn't have all the lava, and it was pretty sparse or scarce of metal at the time. And there was nodes up there, but not very much. They did do an update later that added more nodes. But anyway, the people occupying that spot, so I had a lot of run-ins with them, not particularly in my favor. But they were called Survival Strategy. Now, from my position, they were pretty much the beta tribe of the Alpha at the time. Now, the Alpha was more situated in the east. They had Carnival Island. They had a lot of the east portions of the map, and I think they might have had Herbivore Island, but I'm not too sure on that. I didn't really make it that far when they were still around. I pretty much stayed in my area or on the west and a little bit in the south. And then right to my west was another tribe called Stone Raiders. Now, I've mentioned them a few times in my story mode, but not actually called out their name. But anyway, that was pretty much the layout of the map from the tribes that I was aware of. There were other tribes, but Stone Raiders pretty much took care of them. I think the Alpha and the Beta let Stone Raiders pretty much live because they were taking out the little guys. But don't worry, Survival Strat and the Alpha at the time were also having their share of fun too. So now the Alpha, from what I could understand at the time, was a mix of smaller tribes that had formed together, from what I got the situation of from chat at the time. Since there was some previous major battle on the server earlier, I joined about 2 months after ARK came out to this server, and this was technically my second server, but really my first server, since the first server I joined, I played 12 minutes and then bailed because of ping issues. But my run-ins with the Alpha tribe were they were very interesting, one could say. They were definitely not friendly most of the time. They definitely were like, hey, we're gonna kill your stuff and eat you. But some of the time they're like, hey, we'll replace that thing we just killed of yours for free, why not? And so we had some sort of like interesting love-hate relationship going on with the main Alpha. Survival Strat, though, they did not like us at all because we were essentially close to their base, but not really. I do remember one occasion when we first tamed an RG at the bottom, myself and Fam One, and we were just finished taming up. I just made the saddle for it, and then as a troll, Fam jumps on it. I was like, don't you go get it killed. And so he flies up to the top of the volcano to go see what was up there, because we weren't able to make it to the caldera of the volcano. And lo and behold, he just died, and the RG died. And because as soon as he went over the precipice, if that works, okay. As soon as he went over the edge that viewed into the volcano, he was incinerated by auto turrets. So, that was fun. And, the RG was ours for about maybe a minute of protecting, gathering the meat. I think we might even did a meat tame. I don't even remember how we did it, but we definitely didn't have kibble at the time. That was for sure. So it was either meat. I don't even think we were getting prime at the time. I think it might have just been a straight up meat tame, which was not a short amount of time at that current patch in ARK. And so that died, it was up and gone. And he pretty much was like, I'm done, bro, later at the time. And I was like, well, okay, thanks, man. And so they were pretty protective of their area, survival strat. We would try to build up towards the metal nodes. Since I was on the beach, we would, at the time, I was building little huts up there, little 2 foundations above the gold, and now that's all coming to play later. But Um, I would put that up there to put the gold or the golds. What am I playing? The metal nodes. I had my base on the beach. I had metal nodes a little bit above my base, past the forest area, and then I would put my little tent base right above that, and I'd also use it as like a spawn because my main base was being like destroyed at the time, mostly by stone raiders. And so when that had all its beds wiped and everything inside destroyed, I would just spawn up top and then run back down, and then I would later put it across another thing across the river. Or well, I had one across the river before, back when we were first exploring the server, and it was like a little thatch thing, but I later upgraded that to stone, which was pretty defensible at the time. People really didn't completely zero out stone bases, since getting chitin and cementing paste was such a pain. Like, the only effective way of getting cementing paste was to farm the center cave for the spiders, and I don't even think there were scorpions at the time. It might have just been spiders on a saber. And so once the base was up on top of the little area below, well, far below survival strats area, they would come down usually from the heavens and give us a hard time, being like, oh, we're gonna blow this thing up, you're blocking metal nodes, which obviously I wasn't blocking metal nodes because I was trying to farm them, and I knew about the foundation no grow area, or the spawning of nodes. So I wanted to keep the temp bases away from the metal nodes, and I wanted to temporarily store the metal inside that base, and then I would move. So I would gather the node, I'd put it in the base in a large storage container, and then from there, once it was pretty full, I would move it down to the mountain now, or from the mountain to the base on the beach. And so they gave us a hard time a lot about building generally near that area. Now, from my perspective, they had a whole other side of the mountain to go farm. They were just messing with us, but that's beside the point. Now we can fast forward a little bit past a lot of incidents between Stone Raiders, Survival Strat, and then sometimes the Alpha would come by. Another group, eventually a long time down, joined the server. I don't remember what they were called. It was some sort of thing with lightning. But a few of the members, actually one of the members I can remember what their name was, Pimp Daddy, which later would go by Bonita. And so that guy plays a role later on in all of this. So I wasn't too sure who these lightning guys were. They would pop up every now and then. I started, at this point, I think I had a few RGs, and then I started farming the little mountain right to the east of my base. I don't remember what this was called at the time, but yeah, the big metal mountain in the middle, or center mountain to the east of the volcano, and then below that you had a little mountain which was pretty next to my base, but it wasn't really next. But if you had an RG, you could transfer metal from my base, from that mountain to my base, pretty easily. It did take a bit of time though. And so they would occasionally use that mountain as well, and so we'd have little run-ins, and they were pretty cordial at the time. They would show up, be like, hey, one of my guys just got killed by somebody, yada yada, do you know who it was? I was like, you, yada yada. I'd be like, nah, I'm just farming metal, man. I got no hate. just try to make my base into from stone and build behemoth gates, alright? And actually put some turrets up. I don't think I had very many turrets at the time. But just being stone and having behemoth gates was actually enough to be pretty defensible at the time. Like I said, you got very little resources. Picking up stone was actually a lot faster than gathering or than mining stone with a tool or with a dino. They didn't even have the digresses in the game at this point. in ARK, and so you had to farm with an ankylo, or you farmed with a hatchet or a pick, depending on what you're going. If you want flint or yada yada, you actually got flint at a decent rate, but stone was awful. You got like 4 stone per metal node, 4 to 6 stone, and so picking up off the ground on the beach was actually a lot simpler for me and Fam One at the time. Fam One was playing off and on. He would usually jump in, see how the base was, and if we had stuff, he'd go out and do random stuff, explore. I don't know. Go and try to fight Stone Raiders. we kind of, well, they were pretty much set on wiping us off the beach because they were saying we were blocking their ability to get chitin, because they would go from their cliff face where the purple haters built. They were a little bit north of that from my 6900 hour movie base tour thingy. And so they were claiming, because they would use sabers to go across from where their base was to the central cave to get chin to make explosives, because they were pretty much wiping everybody off the map that wasn't survival strat. And the alpha, which I don't remember what the alpha's name at the time, it was kind of corny from my vague memory, but they do change the name later when they merge with survival strat, which that one I remember. And so they were pretty intent on keeping us off the bait or off the beach, and they wanted to destroy the base we had there. But so the lightning guys, we would meet on the mountain, survival strat, either kill them or stone raiders. That's where we would usually point them to, because they were pretty hostile to anyone in that general area. And so they would go on their way, and then we would go back, or I would go back to building the base and trying to make it into the vision I had, which actually got pretty much where I imagined it. And so from there, those guys kind of expanded, and they grew actually pretty decent. They got a lot of members. I don't remember all of them, but that's where their troubles started. And so I don't know exactly how it happened, but the alpha and survival strat, I believe, eyed them for destruction. And so they were like, okay, these guys, they don't fit here anymore. They're too much of a potential threat. And so they had a little war. Obviously, the lightning guys and Pimp Daddy took a heavy loss. They lost all of their bases, which they were, the lightning guys, from what I understand around the time, had a lot of their stuff on the southeast side, which was near the alpha, because the alpha was more northeast and most of the east coast, like I said earlier. And so the lightning guys pretty much got wiped out. Now this is where it gets a little interesting. A lot of the lightning guys fell apart. A lot of them left the server, yada yada, but Pimp Daddy, he stayed. Now, not only did he stay, but he also moved to the west where I was. Now we weren't really in contact, but we were aware, or at least I was aware of him, and I was like, oh, this guy's doing good work over here. And so he started building on the west, and then he brought a lot of the lightning guys, some of the lightning guys with him, those that stayed, and then he started helping out new people on the server. No, I was too at the time, but I was like keeping that on the down low. Wasn't talking, keeping to myself mostly, because I had a vision in my head, so I was pretty much carrying that out. But if I found a naked on the beach or something, I'd be like, here's a pickaxe, here's a hatchet, go have fun. And so they weren't upgraded tools, or like a ramshack or a journeyman or anything like that. I had like designs at this point were extremely hard to get. I'm not even sure where people were getting them. I think mostly just out of the red drops, which were 100% capped by or 100% being camped by survival strat or the alpha. Now at some point, Pimp Daddy, I don't remember what his name, his clan or legion name was, but he ended up having some problems with the alpha again, and I think Stone Raiders as well, and also the beta. And so they were like pretty much going to war with him, destroying his base, and he just kept coming back, which I liked. This is where I was like, I really started to respect this guy, because he kept rebuilding with his team, and they kept going. And so eventually another group joined the server. I don't remember if the alpha and the beta survival strat merged at this point. They might have, but the people that joined were called Exorcist. And now these guys were a completely different bunch. And so we'll just go on with it. Evidently, the beta and alpha decided to merge, and they ended up calling themselves Legion. I know, it's pretty interesting, or cringe, I don't know. Anyway, and so they made references to them being a Hydra, like, if you guys kill us, we'll just grow more heads, yada yada. And so they pretty much reshaped the map. They took over the volcano. Well, they were essentially at the volcano, but anyway, they took over volcano. They took over to the west of the volcano, and they had the rest of their stuff on the east coast and Carnival Island. And they definitely had herb at this point, and I was moving around with the RG, so I was keeping locations of where they are and trying to avoid them. But this bothered me a little bit because I did not like survival strategy, and that was like, what happened? They made a big deal in chat, like, we killed, I don't even remember what the alpha's name was, but we killed the alpha. We're the alpha now, but they were obviously joking because it's the same guys. Because people were like, who is Legion? Who are these Legion guys? Yada yada yada. And then we started seeing familiar names pop up, and one of the familiar names of the main alpha was a guy named Pax, PAX. Now, we did dealings in the past, mostly Fam did though. But one of the major deals that pretty much upped my game and our game of making stone and later metal and turrets, and we made a deal with them for 10,000 stone, which was quite a lot for one. I think it was like a 130 saber or something. So what we ended up doing with the saber was going to Central Cave, which is where stoned raiders like to farm, and we would mine it out. And then so that also caused conflicts. But the stone base was pretty big at the time. I was like double layer walls, doors, yada yada. And so they pretty much started having trouble blowing all the way into the base and destroying stuff, and we were having fights with them, yada yada. Unfortunately, at the time, I wasn't able to record any of this because my GPU was like a 560 Ti, and so I wasn't able to start recording. Well, I could have recorded it with OBS, I think. Some sort of, there was other screen captures I was aware of, but I wasn't using those. I only started recording when I got a 960, which then let me use Shadowplay. And I used the record function of that, which is where all of my footage has come from since. But those battles, unfortunately, are lost to the sands of time. And so we had Legion now, and we had survival strat now became more obnoxious, but they kind of left us alone. It was kind of weird when they were just survival strat. They definitely harassed us a lot, or me and Fam, whenever they saw us. But when they fused with the main alpha and became Legion, they didn't. Survival strat kind of let off a little bit, but we were still. But interesting enough, when survival strat let off, Stoned Raiders doubled their efforts. They started coming at us. A little cut here and there. It's a 2 hour and 30-minute plus commentary, so there's going to be cuts here and there. So back to Exorcist and Legion. So this is where it gets a little bit interesting, where we actually had a contender, somebody that was in the running that could actually have a chance of confronting Legion. And so Exorcist was this special type of beast. They were a certain type of group. They came in, and there was a lot of them. I don't know where they came from, but they hopped on the server. I remember meeting a few of their tribe members. One of them was called T-Rex, and he was just a naked running by. I'd be like, here's a pickaxe and a hatchet, and then he was like, "Oh, you actually gave me stuff. You're not just gonna kill me and eat me," because I think I had like an RG or something, and I was pretty decked out. I was running around in full flak at the time because I needed the armor to protect myself against other series like Stone Raiders, or when I saw them, or other randoms that were being hostile at the time. And so another one of their members, which came around later, was calling themselves Mama, which is a interesting person or thing to name yourself. I guess they took the role on pretty heavily because, from what I understand, they were the tribe leader. And so I don't remember if I gave them tools, but I think I did. We definitely gave T-Rex stuff because myself and fam were going around noticing them and helping them out when we saw them. And we ended up trading with T-Rex later on, and so he would drop by and we would trade some stuff with him. And so Exorcist became a force on the map. They like popped up. There was this little spot in the north where it was like a little cliff that went down right where Blue Obby would be, a little south of Blue Obby, and it got revamped later and it wasn't the same, but it was like a little nook type area, and it went off into a cliff, and it was a pretty decent building area, but I wasn't a fan of it personally to build. But they set up shop there, and they set up a little shanty town, which was very interesting. When you would fly over with an RG or fly near it, when I would scope them out, I'd be like, "Oh wow, that's pretty neat over there." It was pretty nice to look at. So they had like a whole bunch of little houses and some bigger houses, and so they really built up that area. And so, weirdly enough, Legion left them alone, or at least from what I can understand. I didn't see any major conflicts, or they didn't go at each other and chat. And so, from my perspective, they left them alone for some reason. Now, these were a lot of guys, but Legion also had a lot of people, so I guess they thought. I'd say Legion had about like 20 to 40 people on the server sometimes, and these guys had like 20 to maybe 30 at the time. And so from my perspective, I was like, wow, Legion, either they were afraid of them or they were anticipating an epic battle that they were preparing for, that may or may not have came later. And so anyway, we had Exorcist in the northwest. Now we had Legion on Volcano, a little they had a pretty big base just west of Volcano, but it was like on the west side, that little plain area on the west side of Volcano. And then they had Carno, Herb, and then a lot of the East Coast. And they also started building east of my base, but way far down the river. They set up a little shop there in the little ravine area over next to where the cliff pillars are, just west of those cliff pillars. And so Pimp Daddy, I don't know how it all came about, but Pimp Daddy ended up becoming one with Exorcist. And so Pimp Daddy's group that was on the west side and on the opposite west, so I had my base sort of in the middle just below Volcano. Then I had Stone Raiders west of my base on the little cliff face, a little bit north of the cliff face. They didn't build on the cliff face itself like the 6900 Purple Haters did, but they built a little bit north of it, but essentially it's the same area. And then on the further west, a little more north, was Pimp Daddy. Now I don't know what exactly happened, but I think Legion attacked them and wiped out that base. And then from there, from what I saw, they ended up joining Exorcist and increased Exorcist numbers by another 10 to 15 people. This is all general though. I didn't keep track of everyone's numbers, so all I know is Exorcist gained a decent amount of people. And so Pimp Daddy and then Mama and T-Rex, those were the most of the people that I knew from Exorcist. Everybody else kind of kept to themselves, and we didn't really talk to them or see them or do any trades or anything. But we did trade a lot with T-Rex. I don't know who T-Rex is, but he was our buddy from Exorcist, and he would drop by. He would give us like some minting paste, and we would trade him metal or tools or whatever. Flak. We had a lot of flak because of our dealings with Stone Raiders. So like if we died, we would just go throw on another set. And so at some point though, tensions were building up. Now I'm not sure how it happened, because from my perspective, I always thought that Legion X survival strat and those guys were very close with Stone Raiders, because they didn't mess with each other, and it was just odd because everybody else kind of fought a little bit, and then it was like those three that just like destroyed everybody else and did a map clean from time to time, and then it was just Stone Raiders and Legion at the later on during the Exorcist phase. And so somehow it came about that they decided to go at it with Stone Raiders, which completely blew my mind, because from my perspective, Stone Raiders was just an appendage to Legion. And so I guess they either had a falling out, because there was times where they were like buddy, so I don't know, I guess they had a falling out, or it was just part of a grander plan, because maybe Legion saw the coming battle with Exorcist, and they were cutting loose ends, or they were just clearing out the area. I don't know. But what ended up happening, which was weird, is from my perspective, is Legion came down like a hammer on Stone Raiders, and they were marching past my base with their dinos and stuff, and they took out Stone Raiders. Now, I had no problem with that. It was a little weird it was like, what's happening here? This doesn't make sense. But I was like, okay, Stone Raiders got wiped out from the west of my base. Now, Stone Raiders didn't quit at this point. They actually moved to the south, more south central. But they left the west. They got completely wiped out. Their base completely destroyed. Well, again, people weren't zeroing out stuff then, but essentially their house base, they were kind of like my base. They had a full set of behemoth gates around, but they only had one layer. I was double layering I had double layers at this point. Not that it made much of a difference. But it kind of did. When people attacked us, they only blew in like one behemoth gate, saw the next behemoth gate, and then left. Nobody really, once I had double behemoth gates up around my which pretty much just looked like my 1600 hour base. Once I had the double behemoth gates, the interior raids really did stop. And then double behemoth gates, and then I later put turrets up, which should have came a lot sooner, but that's not how it ended up working out because of my having to come back from zero a lot. So it was easier to build more than build higher tiers. So I ended up just like, okay, I could build more stone, I could build more behemoth gates, build that. And then later on I ended up getting to the point where I was able to actually get electronics, and because at this point I was just rebuilding the base from when it would get like pretty much everything, not everything destroyed, but blown into, all the doors gone, all the dino doors, and then they would just break the stuff inside and then just popcorn all of it, and then I would just log back on to an empty base, or most of the time I'd have to spawn into other little tent bases I had around. And so Stone Raiders ended up getting just removed from the west, but their base was still there, and a lot of behemoth kits were still there. And so, but it was nice, it was really nice, because I know they did it a lot. I would spawn in, run down to my base, and I'd see them on their sabers in my empty base, and they would run away for some reason. A lot of the time, sometimes they come up and try to fight me, and then I'd get like one or two of them, and then they'd run away. Or other times they would just straight up kill me, because there would be too many for me to actually fight. And they were very saber heavy. They didn't really have Rexes, which was kind of weird too. But they loved their sabers, and so, but it was also easy to kind of fight them on the sabers as well. They did a lot of jumping instead of like actually chasing. Although you were able to get pretty decent movement speed. My build stats were movement speed and melee. So I didn't really put stuff into stamina or health. It was just mostly melee movement speed, which was a pretty decent build meta later on in the game, when you could still get crazy movement speed before the nerfs and readjustments of player characters. And so I was able to hold my own against like 4 or 5 of them before they eventually wore me down or took me out. But I would get some of them sometimes. It was pretty even. In some cases, other cases it wasn't. Anyway, it was pretty nice to walk through their empty popcorn base and just look around and be like, oh, so this is what it's like. This is what it's like to see an empty base. Okay. Anyway, so they took out Stone Raiders, and I was like, okay, that's weird. What's happening? And so Exorcist is still going strong. Legion's still going strong. Stone Raiders moved to the south part of the map, more central south. And so Fam and I, we jumped on our birds, and then it was like a couple days later, because it was kind of weird. I kind of felt bad for them in a way. I don't know. They messed up us so many times. We got zeroed out so many times by these guys. And then it was mostly like, oh, it wasn't us that took them out. It was the main tribe, which again was so weird. From how everyone was acting, it was just a weird, because I thought they were so buddy, but I don't know. Maybe they just had a breakdown of infighting or whatever. And so we went south to their little shanty base they were building, and they kind of started shooting at Fam with they had like little pistols or long necks, wherever they were using. And so we were on our RGs, they were shooting at Fam, and I was like, dude, just whatever. It's like they weren't doing any damage to us, and they couldn't aim. They were mostly like pike guys and saber guys, so their aim was not good. They were mostly that they knew how to AFK raid. That's where they really shined. It was when you were online, boy, did they know how to go at your base. And so they were mostly AFK raiders, and they weren't really good with actual confrontations, but they did get the best of us a lot, or sometimes. But we ended up getting some kills of them as well. So it was good times. But then I kind of felt bad for them, which is weird, right? And so we were in a position where like we could take out their shanty base. Fam wanted to just go ham on them, and it's not like they were undeserving, but then I was like, nah, just let them be or whatever. And so we kind of left them, and then Legion ended up finishing the job at their base, which I guess was a good thing we left them alone or whatever, because then we would have been on the radar for whatever was happening. But at this point, my base got left alone, which was nice. Weird, but nice. And so I think mostly because I think PAX ended up taking tribe ownership of Legion. I'm not too sure who the Legion was. I don't think it was PAX at the beginning, back when they were just the alpha and beta between Survival Shop. I think PAX ended up taking a more leadership role, because he was in chat a lot and he was dictating stuff and yada yada. And so we kind of had decent terms of PAX himself, but not the rest of Legion. Definitely not Survival Strat. That was later became Legion, or part of Legion, when we're Central Always were Legion, or whatever the alpha was. Anyway, and so they finished taking out Stone Raiders, and then this is where things started to kick off. This is where the grand finale of Legion started to appear. And so I don't know how I initiated, but I think Pimp Daddy and some of Legion members had some sort of conflict or something, but all I know is Exorcist and Legion went to war. This was a glorious war. It was like, back at the time, again, resources were hard to get. We didn't have Dodicaruses, we had Ankylos. Farming stone was a pain in the butt, and just getting metal and chitin was a pain. Yeah, it was just resource gathering at the time really did suck. And so like, if you had a metal base, you were pretty much untouchable unless the alpha, or the almost soon to be alpha, it's a little spoiler there, Exorcist, went at you. So like, the little people, if you had a metal base, the little tribes, 4 to 5 man, 4 to 10 man, could not take out a metal base or contend for metal base. Stone bases were also hard to go out, but they were more accessible to people with like it was mostly grenades. C4 was such a pain to make at the time, but those were more accessible to grenades. And there wasn't even Gigas at this point, so it was like either you did explosives or you ate wood and thatch bases with a Rex. So that's pretty much what the PvP was like then, during this time of Exorcist and Legion's battle. Now at this point, I had a mostly stone base with like metal bottom of the structure. The structure, like the foundations were metal. The wall, the lower walls, some of it was metal, and then I had the behemoth gates and then another layer of behemoth gates. So I was double stacked at the time. Stone Raiders, their base was like just stone with 0 metal, which because they spent most of their time against explosives to go raid or AFK raid, and then an outer gate of behemoth gates. So they got pretty much destroyed, and then their second base was wood and thatch and maybe a little bit of stone, or their center base that just got wiped out. And so Exorcist ended up attacking Survival Strat's main base on the volcano, which is now Legion. And so the strategy they employed, the survival strategy, is they tamed a lot, like a huge amount of Phiomias, the little hogs or pigs. And what they would do, because survival strategy, what they had set up at the top, which we later explored after we got more RGs and stuff, and fam realized not to fly into the unknown just straight in, is that they had a row or a wall of auto turrets positioned around the whole rim of the caldera of the volcano, and then they had their base in the middle. And so that volcano base was pretty much untouchable at the time to anything like a Pterodon or an RG. So what Survival Strat ended up doing is they would take Phiomias, and they tamed so many Phiomias. They must have used like 50 to 100, maybe even more than that, of Phiomias. But they would take an RG, fly above the volcano, and drop the Phiomias in, and then just absorb bullets. And I think they later on ended up putting C4 on the Phiomias and then dropping them and blowing them up, or however. But anyway, their first target was the volcano base of Legion, X Survival Strat. And so I was pretty neutral during this. Fam didn't really get involved. We were dealing with other stuff. We had a other guy that I don't remember what his name was now, but he was pretty annoying. He was a solo raider, and we had good times with him. He got the best of us a lot. He was pretty decent ARK player. We were hunting him down, and we were taking out his stuff. And so we were dealing with that. Stone Raiders was pretty much left the server at this point, so we didn't really go after them anymore or have any run-ins with them. And so it's pretty much my base, a couple little other guys on the server, the AFK raider and PvPer that we were hunting down, and then the main battle between Legion and Exorcist. And a lot of people grouped together with Exorcist because nobody really liked Legion. They were your typical alpha, and so it was nice to root for the other guys. And so they took out, after like maybe a week of chopping Phiomias and blowing up the turrets, they finally took out the volcano base. And then from there, I think they took out the base just west of the volcano that was belonged to Legion. It was pretty big. It was metal. It was like a metal box with 2 behemoth gates on either side, and then a couple floors in the middle. That was pretty easy from what I saw. Exorcist just went in, blew up a gate, and then took out all the turrets inside and yada yada after they took out the top. So Exorcist now essentially owns the whole west side, the north where their main compound is, and I'm not too sure about the South. I don't know if Exorcist ever really was in the South at this point. And so now they pretty much own the West. They now have and occupy the volcano, but they didn't really build stuff. They were just making sure Legion didn't come back. So they set up a few turrets and yada yada. And so now Exorcist was going to move on Legion's other main properties, which was the North Carnal Island, which was Exorcist's main base. They had a few, when I say little, but they're pretty decent size, secondary bases on the East Coast. And then they had their off base. So it was like the main base, Carnal, and then off base on Carnivore. Or not Carnivore. Carnal Island was their main base, off base on Herbivore. But I would say that the Volcano base was definitely superior to the Herbivore base. But Herbivore was just, that's a whole different thing to tackle. But so Exorcist ended up taking out most of the East Coast, and then they took out Herb, and then at the end, this is where I joined in, and Fam 1 joined in to take out Legion's river base. So Exorcist went at them. They took out the base. We came in later. We didn't participate in the active battles, but myself and Fam, we got all of our resources that we had collected, and we started building grenades. And we went at Exorcist Pimp Daddy pretty much came to me and was like, "Hey, if you guys want to blow up this base, we'll let you, yada yada." And we were like, "Okay, whatever." I mean, if you don't want to waste your C4 or C4 grenades, whatever they were using, we'll take it out for you. It's not like we were particularly on good terms with Legion anyway, other than Pax. We were only okay at Pax, but Pax was an interesting character. Like I said, they would kill stuff and then replace it or whatever as a troll. At this point, Fam 2 was playing, and one of the incidents with Pax is this is okay. So I was taming Spinos at this point, and so Fam 2 just joined. He wasn't really too good at the game, but we were like, "Here, take a dino, go explore, get the basics of the game down, and then come back." But I really, at this point, I was letting Fam 1 was doing whatever he wanted. I was focusing on the base and taming dinos and just securing my area. And so Fam 1 and Fam 2 were pretty autonomous, but Fam 2 definitely needed to learn the game. He was just starting at this point while the war between Exorcist and Legion was going on. This might have been like a month battle between the two of them. It was definitely a long time. This wasn't like nowadays, or well, I'm not up to date on current ARK battles, but ARK battles were pretty much decided in a couple of hours or a week at most, maybe 2 weeks. I don't know. Some battles did last quite a bit against the super mega tribes, but there wasn't mega tribes at this point. It was literally just you spawn on a server, you had to start from 0. There was no server transfers at this point, so you had to level up a character from 0, and then you had to build your base up, and then you had to go at the alpha or make peace with the alpha. So there was no transfer in, there was no bring your dinos. It was start from scratch and then build your way out, which is what really impressed me with Exorcist and Pimp Daddy when they joined the server during their first encounters with us, is that they were in it for the long haul. And so I gave Fam 2 a Spino. It wasn't good. It was like maybe a level 40 Spino. We were mostly making eggs. I don't even remember what Spino eggs were used for. But anyway, I gave him the Spino. I threw a saddle and I said, go have fun. Just go run around. Try not to. I told him not to attack these people. Let's see if you see these people, don't attack these people. Yada yada. But go have fun. Go run around and do what you gotta do. Go eat some stuff. Learn the game. Yada yada. So he's 20 minutes out mostly. He survived a lot longer than I thought he was going to with the Spino, but he ended up running into Pax. But Legion liked to run around on Rexes and then just do what they did. But he ended up running into Pax, but he didn't know he ran into Pax. It was at night, and we didn't really know about messing with gamma and stuff then, and so when it was night, it was like pitch black. And so he was running around the Spino at night. He probably had a torch out or something. But then he started going, "Oh my God, I'm being attacked. I'm being killed. Yada yada." Like, well, just eat it. What's killing you? He's like, "Oh no!" And then he dies, and then the dino dies. And I don't remember if there must have been red text, but there definitely wasn't a try blog at this time. And I just remember seeing the pop up. I think I'm not too sure, but he died, and then. Pax gets in chat and goes, "Who was the guy on the spine I just killed?" And then nobody says anything, and then he got his implant, and then he says the implant of Fam2 with the name of Fam2. "Who's this? I just killed your dino, yada yada." And then I pop in chat, "Oh, that's one of my guys," which was just me and Fam1 and Fam2 at the time. That was one of my guys, and he's like, "Oh, this one of you guys? My bad, yada yada. Here, come back, have him come back. I'll give him his stuff back, and yada yada." And I was like, "Nah, it's fine. Don't worry about it," because again, it was like crappy Spino. And he's like, "Yeah, no, just come back." And I was like, "Nah, man, it's whatever. Just keep your stuff," because I didn't really want to associate with Legion. And so I was like, nah, it's cool. Just do what you did, man. It's all good. Because he actively killed him. Because at some point I told Fam2 to just run away, because I guess the Spino was getting munched on. Against Dino stats at the time were also crazy. Like, I think the Saber's HP that we got from Pax or Legion was, or not HP, the melee was like 15,000. It was like 1,500% melee. So like stats were crazy at this time as well. Before the Dino nerf that ended up happening way later. And so I don't know what this Rex had, but I remember we had decent. I put HP into the Spino to try to keep it alive. I don't remember what the Spino's HP was. I think it was like 15 to 20,000 HP or something, which is not what Spino's HP were way later. And so anyway, the Rex wrecked the Spino, and it was just a basic primitive saddle. And so I was like, "Nah, dude, Spino's dead. We didn't really care about it. I just sent him out to go learn the game." He's like, he was kind of miffed that we didn't go back, and because most of it was Fam2 had no idea where he died. He didn't know where he was. He didn't know how to use the map. He was just wandering around. And so I was like, "I don't know where you are. I'm not going to try to find you. It's already gone." And he's like, "Well," and then he tried to up the offer and be like, "Okay, well, we'll give you another Spino." And so I was like, nah, don't even worry about it. It's all good. It's all Gucci. It's all whatever. And so he was miffed, but then he ended up letting it go. I don't know what was he trying to get us all there, and then he was going to eat us all, or I believed he really was going to give us stuff back in the dino, but I didn't really care at this point. And so that was like one encounter between Fam2 and Pax and Legion. Now this was before the war between Exorcist and Legion. This is just one of the run-ins with how Legion like to do things. They would usually kill you and then give you some stuff later on or whatever. They were having their fun. They did them, okay? And so Exorcist had taken out this little river base of them. And so Fam1 and I were like, okay, we'll put some explosives together and we'll go blow some stuff up. They really didn't blow into the base, Exorcist. They pretty much just took out the turrets, and there wasn't really much defensive. It was just like a metal base. It was on pillars, and it was a little bit off the ground. Some of it was a lot off the ground because it was attached to the cliff, and then they made it connect to the top of the cliff, and then it went down to the river. It was a little nifty base they had there. And so we blew into it. We blew up all of the large. They didn't have any. They may have had like one vault. I don't remember seeing vaults, but they had a lot of large storage containers with pin codes on it. So we blew into the base. We blew out some of the metal doors using grenades. That took a bit of time. And then we blew up all of the large storage boxes. And then there were some saddles. Pimp Daddy asked what was in it, so we gave him a little inventory. He didn't ask for any of the stuff. We just gave him a rundown. It was like some green saddles. This is where I was like, oh, there's actually, I think we found like a journeyman saddle, and so where it was like, oh wow, these guys actually have like decent tier of blueprints and stuff, and we found like upgraded hatchets and stuff, like ramshackle hatchets, and I was still using primitive stuff at the time, primitive flak, primitive hatchets, primitive saddles. And I was like, oh okay, this is some nice stuff. And so we took all of that, and then we brought it back to the base. It wasn't anything too fancy, but it was like an introduction to a higher tier, to a little increase in survivability and damage and yada yada. And so we were pretty much on Exorcist side at this point. That's the long explanation, was pretty much to say we were taking Exorcist side at this point. We were pretty much like, goodbye Legion. It wasn't really nice knowing you. Definitely not survival strategy, because we did differentiate between the two members. Even though they were one tribe, we try to keep track of everyone who was in a survival strategy. And so there was like 5 to 7 members that were survival strategy, and so we try to keep track of the names and be like, okay, you may be Legion now, but there's some of you we really don't like. And so we took out that base, we took the stuff, and we left. And then Exorcist went on to take out Herbivore Island. They already took out most of the East Coast. They main attacked Herb, and then the showdown on Carno. This is where most of the battle happened. There was like another week of the battle between Exorcist and Legion, and this is Legion's fall, where they lost on Carno. And this is where Exorcist became the new alpha after that long battle. We didn't really participate, by I mean myself, Fam 1, Fam 2, that's, we don't even, he may have been there, but participation was asking a lot. He was still learning the game. And so that's where Legion fell on Carno. From what I remember, I'm pretty sure that was their final resting place. They may have had a little contingencies or little battles, where Legion may have had like little bases here and there that they went to after Carno fell, but pretty much Carno was the end of it. And so then this is when Exorcist took over, and now we were on pretty good terms with Exorcist. Like the person named Mama, who was pretty much the leader of Exorcist, it could have been Pimp Daddy, I don't know, but anyway, Pimp Daddy ended up taking leadership later on, but I'm not too sure who was running Exorcist at this time. But we were on decent terms with Exorcist, so we were pretty much left alone after Legion fell, and that's when I really started to build up the base. That's when I started to turn most of it metal. I was throwing around safes on the top, and then that is where my 1600 base tour video really happened. After it was like a month or two after the fall of Legion, Exorcist took over, and then that's what my base mostly I was able to build up to at that point. But turrets, I was able to get electronics finally, now that Stone Raiders was gone and Legion was gone. And then we ended up finding a guy that had harassed us for a long time. We found his little nooks across the map, and then we ended up taking those out. Fam 1 ended up having one-on-one with him and pretty much took him out now that we were equal footing. Because when we started out, the dude was already like, I think it was the level cap was 65, I'm not sure, but he was pretty much level capped, and he was like all speed, and this guy just ran around, murked you, and then left after taking your stuff. And so we had a lot of run-ins with him. I think I mentioned him a bit in some of my story times, my other videos. I could definitely go into a lot of detail about this guy. We had a lot of battles, but myself and Fam 1 and this guy, he caught us off guard a lot when we were solo. When he ran away a lot. He really liked to hit and run. He was really good at that. But so he would like attack you. If he couldn't kill you, he would take off and then come back, try again later when you weren't suspecting. So we had a lot of good times with this guy. Unfortunately, Fam 2, he persisted past Legion's demise. He was definitely there before. He was there during back when Legion was their survival strat and their mixed tribe. He was definitely there. One of our main adversaries back when Stone Raiders and survival strat and this guy were all coming at us really hard. They were definitely hitting my beach base like almost every day. We would log in, I would rebuild it, fam would do whatever fam one did, go out, gather rocks or whatever to build equipment to go fight these guys. That was mostly his goal. He wanted revenge. I would focus on rebuilding. He would go out and try to get revenge, attack them, yada yada, did whatever he did, and then log off. That's what he usually did. So I went to build, he went to go pay back the misdeeds that were done against us. And so that's pretty much how our playtime consisted of. And then Fam 2 ended up joining, and Fam 2 did whatever Fam 2 did. I could go on about Fam 2's attempt at playing the game. It was pretty interesting. Anyway, a lot of dead dinos is what I'm saying. So anyway, we ended up finding this guy. We took out most of his little cubby bases because he liked to hide bases. He was definitely build little, attack, bring back, and then just had a whole bunch of little points on the map that he would just spawn at, and he did his thing. He was good at it. And so we found him. We took his stuff. We found a lot of his little bases, but mostly Fam 1 did. He really had a grudge against this guy. And so Fam 1 ended up pretty much decimating most of this guy's bases. And then when we would find a bigger base of his, that's when I would come help and then take that out. Then he would log on and we would have battles with him. We ended up, at a certain point, we ended up being the same level and having better dinos. Because he wasn't really a dino guy. He was mostly just on foot. He did his stuff on foot. He tried to bow and arrow. He tried to pike. Because he has such speed that he could just literally like pike you, run away, pike you, run away, pike you, run away. That's how he started his character. And so he wasn't really, he tried to do crossbows and bows, but he sucked. If we both went to bows and crossbows, we ended up being superior in the battle if it was like 1-on-1. And then he would switch to pike, and then he would just come up and then like do the hit and run thing until you were dead. And that's usually how he beat us. Until we got to the same level and until we got superior dinos. Then at some point, we just kept stomping him, and then he pretty much left us alone. I don't know if he left the server. I don't think he did, because I still remember other people. He switched his gaze off of us. We were no longer a target that he was able to like hit, or he avoided us at some point. Then at some point he just faded away altogether, and I don't remember him or anyone ever mentioning him again. I don't remember what his name was, but he had a unique name, and people would be like, "Who's this guy? Why is he killing me?" Yada yada. He was a little nuisance on the server, but he definitely avoided the alphas. He avoided survival strat, and so he did his thing. He was pretty good at it. And so we found him, we bested him, and then we got left alone. So at some point, Fam 1 just pretty much was, he was bored with it, and then so he left. I had this idea in my head, and so I just kept building and building and building until the base reached my 48 on her base tour, I think is what I called it. I'd have to look at the video, but I'm not going to anyway. And so but that was like way after Exorcist took control of the map, and we were on good terms with Exorcist. People may not have liked Exorcist at the time. They did play their role as an alpha, which everything that entails. So what alphas did, but we were pretty much avoided. Fam 1 ended up just logging on every now and then. He didn't really do much because there wasn't much to do. Exorcist kind of ran things. They let other people build, but then like other people got a little antsy. Exorcist went in and just took them out. But the Exorcist and Pimp Daddy we were on good terms. We were like there day one with them. I don't ever remember seeing T-Rex or the other guys that are the main Exorcists. Again, I'm not sure what the makeup of Exorcists actually was. I know Pimp Daddy's group ended up joining them, and somehow Pimp Daddy's group ended up running things later on. So I'm not sure where these guys came from, but there was a lot of them. They came, they saw, they conquered. That was one of my jokes when I would talk about them, and then they left, sorta. They were still there. Off and on, but not the presence they were when they were fighting Legion. So I'm not sure who these guys really were, but Pimp Daddy's group ended up mostly running things, and we were on good terms with them. And Pimp Daddy's group, they turned into some beasts. Like when certain live streamers, just that were using. I don't really know how to get into detail with these guys, but let's just say they were not playing fair. They were using third-party programs and live streaming it on certain platforms in different countries in the world, or a different country in the world. And so they were blatantly cheating, and they didn't care. And so Pimp Daddy's group actually were like contending against these guys that were headshotting you before you even saw them. And so these exorcists became a force. And so they did their thing, I did my thing. Fam one he was nonchalant about it and just didn't really play much. He tried to build some stuff, like in my 1600 hour base tour, or maybe it was my 4800 hour base tour video. There was that stone structure outside. He built that. The stone structure outside the Behemoth Gate, he built that. Wasn't a fan. We had some arguments over it because I wanted to expand and that was in the way. And I was like, I wasn't going to destroy it, but I didn't like it being there. So I was pretty much like, dude, take it out. And then, yeah, it was like, whatever. We had a little infighting over that. And so he kind of left the game. He would log on every now and then just to see what I was up to. Fam 2, he played a little bit, but again, it was whatever. And so Exorcist was kind of just running things for a decent amount of time. They weren't hostile to new people per se. They would let people grow, and then if they were decent or if they liked them, they would end up inviting them to Exorcist. Pimp Daddy didn't later on try to invite me or merge tribes. There wasn't even tribe mergers at this point. You pretty much just left everything. But when tribe mergers later did become a thing, he asked if I wanted to merge tribe, and I was like, nah, man, I'm over here doing my own thing. I would like to join you guys. It would probably be fun, but I just got a plan in my head, and I just want to see it through to the end. And so that was my base. That was my tribe. That was what I was working on. And so an interesting group of people joined, and they kind of started building. Everything was pretty decent. I reached the point where mostly people didn't mess with me, and if they did, I retaliated pretty quickly. I was very much into base defense. I didn't go out and raid people. I live and let live. But if they attacked me, oh boy, that's when I'd be like, hey fam one, you want to hop on? Well, not during the attack, but if they attacked me, I'd go at them, I'd repel them, and then I would contact fam one and be like, hey, you want to go hunt these guys? They tried to attack my base. And so he would either give me a yes or no. He'd be like, nah, I don't care. He was very much into Dota at the time, so it was Dota 2, that is. And so he had other things to do, so sometimes he would log in and help me, or other times I'd just go at whoever. Sometimes I'd have people attack my base, they'd blow a couple dino gates or whatever. But I had a lot of Rexes at the time, and so I was pretty much able to contend with people that were trying to attack the base. And I liked defending the base. It was pretty fun whenever it did get hit on the small scale. when it was like maybe 2 to 4 versus me, or maybe even like sometimes it was like 5. But again, these guys weren't like heavily equipped. Some of them had flak or what, but they weren't as established as I was at this point. So they would attack, I would rebuild, I'd go at them. Sometimes I wouldn't even necessarily wipe them, I'd just repel them, and then they wouldn't even come back. I would find their base, I'd attack them a little bit, and then I'd just go away. So there was fun times. My base did get hit on, attacked a little bit. There was an occasion that a group of 4 to 5 people did a pretty decent attack on it, and then fam one did end up joining in that one, because they actually got in and they attacked some of his personal dinos that I either gave to him or he tamed himself. And so he was like, "Oh, they touched my dinos. Okay, I'll come say hello to them." Well, mostly for reference, one of his dinos was the saber that we got from PAX. Even though I helped gather the stone, I think I gathered like 5,000 of the stone. He gathered 5,000 of the stone, and then we bought the saber from PAX. But he loved that saber. He loved that saber because it made him a contender against Stone Raiders. So that pretty much made us like not better than Stone Raiders. Stone Raiders was a group of like 5 to 9 people, but they would actively run around between like 4 to 3 people. And so once we got that saber, then we really were able to go toe to toe in a lot of the battles of Stone Raiders. So, but they were gone at this point. That was a whole different thing. So if somebody touched his saber, he had a lot of battles with that saber. He would log in. So this particular time, those 2 to 3 people or 4 people that attacked the base, they came in. They killed some of my dinos. Or they killed like a Terras and like an RG, and then they blew some stuff. They didn't really take anything, but I caught them coming back to the base, and then I started to attack them, and then I repelled them, and then I got Fam 1 in, and then we went at the guys, but they ended up having a decent metal base in the center south area. And so I had my base, I was like metal behemoth gates, stone, and at this point it was starting to turn a little bit into metal, and they had like a decent metal base. It was, I would say, probably 8 by 8 and then like 4 stories high. And so they pretty much, we weren't able to actively like destroy them or kick them off the server, and we kind of just pretty much became neutral. We would attack each other whenever we saw each other, but we didn't really hit each other's base after they got repelled and yada yada. And so that was like one occasion when we had battles. And so that was pretty much what was happening between myself and the rest of the people on the server. Exorcist ended up wiping the people, 2 to 3 people, or 4 people. I think it was 4, it might have been 2 to 3. They ended up wiping those guys because they ended up trying to attack Exorcist. But I'm not sure if we participated in the battle that wiped them, but we definitely helped finishing, because they tried to rebuild again, and then that's when Fam 1 and I came back. We're like, hey, round 2, man. And so that was pretty much the lay of the land. Exorcist did what Exorcist did. I was building my base. Fam 1 would log on occasionally if there was attacks. I would repel some stuff, yada yada. Fam 2 did what Fam 2 did. And so the interesting people that joined the server were named P Terra Squad, or Petra Squad, or Terra Squad, but it was PTERA and then Squad. And so this was a decent group of people. Now I'm pretty sure he was the leader at the time, but the main guy of Terra Squad was Musky Hunter. This Terra Squad comes into play later, because after Exorcist battles with these with the third-party users or hackers, whatever you want to call them, script kiddies, after those running long battles and all the other battles Exorcist had, this was over a long period, Terra Squad ended up joining Exorcist and ended up taking on the mantle of Exorcist, because a lot of the Exorcist members at this point were starting to leave and do other stuff. And Pimp Daddy changed his name to Bonita, or it had a different character at this one. I'm not sure. It was I think it was a different character. And now that I think about it, I don't think there was name changes. And so he went from Pimp Daddy to Bonita, and that's what he was running around as. And so Terra Squad ended up joining Exorcist. Their main base was right below the center heavy metal farm mountain, where it had all of the obsidian nodes and the crystal nodes and all the metal nodes. The main metal mountain, they built just south of that, down on the little hill there, that was sort of leading towards the river, or going towards the river, but it was decent away from the river. that center river. It was almost near 50. It was like right on the line of 50-50, but straight up. It was a little bit to the east of 50-50, but straight up to that main mountain, and then on the side of it where they weren't blocking nodes or whatever. Or if they were, it wasn't very many nodes. And so that is where Terror Squad set up. They ended up joining Exorcist. The Exorcist, they got along well from what I saw in chat. Yeah, they became buddy. I was doing my own thing. There wasn't really active PvP at the time during this whole era period. And so I was really focused on building the base. People were like, "Oh, your base is getting so big." Yeah. They're giving me compliments. I was like, "Thanks, guys. I'm working hard on it." And so those two joined, and then they ended up becoming the new alpha through like a merger. Muskie Hunter ended up. He didn't really take tribe ownership of Exorcist. I think Bonita was still the owner, but a lot of the Exorcist, original Exorcist members, the ones that took out Legion, those guys were gone. So Exorcist was finding new blood, and then those guys were pretty decent. So they didn't really become hostile towards us. I think Bonita or Panthetti was like, these OMG Dino Alien guys, you don't mess with them. They're cool guys. I like that Aatrox guy. I don't know. Yeah, it could have, could not. I don't know. I really liked Bonita at this point, so I would have joined when he offered too much tribes back when tribe mergers were a thing. But this happened way later. I would have joined if I wasn't so dead set on doing my own thing at the time. And so Terra Squad ended up taking over of Exorcist over the next month or so, maybe month or two. And from there, they ran things pretty much the same as Exorcist, the previous Exorcist members. Bonita logged on from time to time. He wasn't as active as he was. My base was flourishing. I was going sky high, moving on up. Muskie Hunter and his people were doing the alpha things, fighting people, yada yada, that came to try to fight them or whatever was happening. And so it pretty much progressed to that point. And then pretty much all of the old Exorcist members stopped logging in. We'll fast forward a decent amount of time, maybe 3 to 4 months, maybe 5 months even. And so Exorcist and myself were like the main forces on the map. I got hit a little bit, but not a lot. People rarely attacked my base at this point. Pretty much everyone just did their own thing and avoided my base or avoided the alpha Exorcist. And then there was a few little major battles here and there. But yeah, it pretty much went on like that for a while. And then Exorcist, I'll give a laydown of the map of Exorcist. So there is a guy named Vader. I'm not too sure how Vader thought of me, but I thought we were on good terms. We didn't really talk much. We didn't really have much dealings. He had his partner, I believe, was playing the game. I don't remember what her name was in the game. But anyway, they set up a huge base on Carno, and they made a giant pirate ship. And it was a pretty decent base. I'd fly by Carno and I'd look at it, I'd give a nod at it, I'd be like, that's a cool looking base. So they set up a giant pirate ship that was Vader's base, and then Exorcist had Herbivore. They didn't build on Volcano anymore. Volcano, there was a metal node update at some point, I don't remember exactly, but a lot of metal nodes started to go spawn on Volcano now. So we pretty much cleared off all of old Legion stuff up there. They did most of it. I did a little bit from time to time. because most of it was metal up there. So we ended up using that as a farming location, mostly them. And then whenever I'd go up there, whenever I'd see it was up, and I'd clear it out and then go bring it back down to my base. I had one RG and then like a trail of 7 to 8 RGs following me, and I just fill them up, and people would comment on my whole RG line, yada yada. Um, and so that's pretty much how it went. And Carno Island, I'm not sure what Herbivore, who was running Herb or who had that, and don't remember what the look of the base was. And the Muskies people had the base just below the main metal mountain, which was what they were using to farm a lot of their metal mostly. They would hit that mountain and then they hit Volcano. I mostly had the mountain to the south that was near my base. I would use that, and then I'd hit Volcano whenever that was up. And that was my metal sources. Then they ended up building a little bit south of Red Ob. They built a big base. I don't remember who built that. And then they started to build bases all across the map, essentially. And so there's another guy, Bacon. I was on good terms with him. I don't remember at what point. I don't know if he was part of Terror Squad or Terror Squad at the beginning when Terror Squad merged with Exorcist, or if he came later. But then there's also another person called Shees. No, I was pretty on familiar terms with Bacon and Shees later on. That'll come into play later. Vader and his partner, I think it was girlfriend, maybe wife, not too sure. Don't remember what their relationship was. I had some trades with them. I think it wasn't a lot. We had some interaction. It was pretty friendly. Didn't really talk to them much. I mostly talked to Bonita when he would log on occasionally. Didn't really talk to Muskie other than hellos here's and there when we see each other. So pretty much I just got left alone to build, which was nice. That's how I ended up building my behemoth, my big purple monster, or the purple towers, or tower, whatever you wanted to call it. And so things went on. There were some battles here and there, little skirmishes for myself as well. Then it started to die down a little bit. And I think some of the old Exorcist members were rarely logging on, maybe once every 2 weeks. And it was mostly Bonita and then some of the other guys. There was another Exorcist member that was originally with the main Exorcist. Actually, no. Now that I think about it, he might have been a spy. I'm not too sure, but he was a guy named Fi. Shout out to Fi. But he was part of Legion, and then he ended up joining Bonita, I think, and then they ended up joining Exorcist, or maybe he was a spy in Legion. I'm not too sure, but that was a whole other inside thing. I wasn't really aware of it, but I was on good terms with this guy named Fi. He was Legion at one point. He had a base just south of my base, but I actually liked Fi. He kind of joined Legion later. Again, I'm not too sure how Fi-Hi's whole role in the whole war between Legion and Exorcist played, but he was part of Legion. I think he may have turned off the power on one of the bases now that I'm thinking about it. But it was, I don't know, it was pretty funny. But I liked Fi-Hi, shout out Fi-Hi. And so he ended up joining Legion or Exorcist, or was part of Exorcist. He logged on. He was one of the OGs from Exorcist, or helped out a lot in the battle against Exorcist, or against Exorcist, against Legion. And so Fi-Hi logged on a bit. I liked Fi-Hi. We had some good rapport. He was probably one of the people I talked a lot to on the server 321 during the time, but when Muskie's people were taking over. So he was like one of the main people in Exorcist. It was Bonita, Fi-Hi. There was Bob. I'll get into Bob later. The Bob. You don't mention Bob without saying the Bob. And then you had Muskie's people, and then you had Vader. I'm not too sure when Vader joined. Again, I wasn't really aware a lot of the inner workings of what was happening between the inner workings of Exorcist or Legion, and that kind of was doing my own thing. And if people messed with me, I messed back, and yada yada. And so Fahai I was talking to, he also was part of the. He would log in frequently, but not as frequently as he did before. Even though he was one of the OG Exorcist members. But a lot of them, it was mostly Bonita and Fahai that were logging in. The others kind of just left. And then it was Vader, his partner, and then it was Muskie's people. And essentially what ended up happening is, I've said it a lot now, is Exorcist was pretty much leaving. Muskie's people was taking over. Fahai, though, he was still there a decent amount. And so Vader had his pirate base on Carno. They had the herbivore base. They had the base just below the center mountain area, which was Muskie's main base. Muskie ended up moving towards into the north. The little well, it was like the little cliff, little mountain thingy just north of Carno Island. It had that little recessed area in there, where that little beach area. And so he built there. That's where he built his main base. He ended up setting that up. They also had the little oasis area. I think that was an Exorcist base, but I'm pretty sure that Muskie's people ended up revamping that to one of their main areas, just in that north area, right below Muskie's main base. There was no iceberg base at this time. There was no iceberg. There was icebergs out there, but there wasn't that big old piece of ice. So the northwest area was pretty barren of bases, really, because the snow biome was in at this point, I think. And even without the snow biome, it still got like deadly cold in that area. If you didn't have proper equipment on, you would die out there in the Blue Obby area pretty quickly. But that base was pretty scarce. There was a group that was friendly to Exorcist, and I think it was 2 people, maybe even 3, that was friendly to Exorcist and that were living there. I had maybe one dealing with them. I don't know. We would acknowledge each other when we walk by, say hi, yada yada, or whatever. When I was flying out there, I don't even know, I was looking for dinos or something. Whenever I would go up north and they would come down a little south and we would see each other, would give greetings or whatever. But I don't think I really traded with them. Maybe kibble trade here and there. I don't know. I don't remember exactly what my dealings were, but we were pretty amicable between each other. It wasn't hostile, but it wasn't exactly friendly either. And so we pretty much left each other alone. That they were pretty much the main force, and they had a decent sized base and dinos in the northwest area. And then one of Muskie's people ended up building near Red Obby. I already said that. They built a pretty decent base there. They ended up building in the southern area too. So pretty much they had the majority of the map, and then what they didn't have, they were friendly with the people that were there, or had alliances. But there was no alliances at this point. There was the alliance system came later though. I don't remember exactly the alliance system, but I did end up making an alliance with Exorcist. Bonita was the one that set the whole thing up, and then I ended up joining the alliance. And then so essentially what ended up happening is well, I'll get to that in a second. Exorcist took over, or Muskie Hunter's people took over Exorcist. Exorcist people stopped logging in. It was mostly Bonita and Fahai. Eventually even those two stopped logging in frequently, mostly Bonita. Fahai still maybe once every 4 days. I really didn't keep track of Fi, but he was around sometimes. And so we'll fast forward a bit now. Muskie Hunters people, not sure how it went about, but they ended up separating from Exorcist, even though they were the ones that were pretty much the alpha. Now this was a little contentious at the time, because Exorcist wasn't playing except for Vader, his partner, Fi, but they didn't. Vader was very active. Like, I don't remember when Vader joined Exorcist. He might have been there from the beginning. I honestly don't remember. But Vader was pretty active in his pirate base. Fi was active in his base. His base was in the columns, right below the North Mountain, that top northeast mountain. He had his base on the columns there, those pillar columns in that little ravine river area, and the north that led out to the ocean, that went out to Carno. That's where Fi lived. Vader lived on Carno Island. Bonita made a lake base in the east area. There was that lake over there, and so he set up his lake base there, but he wasn't active at this point from my memory. He would log on, assess things, like, I don't know. Once again, I didn't keep track of all these people or the login times. I wasn't my stitch. So I was pretty much just doing my own thing at this point. But Muskie's people ended up leaving Exorcist, even though they were essentially the main force of the alpha. And I would say there was about 10 to 20, maybe 15 to 20 of Muskie's people. It could have been maybe less, maybe 10 to 15. They had a decent force. I don't know, again, if that was all Muskie's people or if that was the remaining Exorcist members. But they ended up leaving. I was a little, again, this ties in to the whole long video commentary ties in, but I was a little ambiguous about what was happening at the time, because I liked both of these groups, and they were one group. So I liked Muskie's people, I liked Bacon, I liked Shees. It was very interesting, to say the least, about my position. And so Muskie's people, I believe they left because they didn't really have ownership of anything. Everything belonged to Exorcist, and they wanted more control, since essentially they were the alpha, since there was only like 4 other Exorcist members that were logging in, and then there was Muskie's people. And so they ended up leaving. They ended up creating Minutemen, and then Muskie came to me, and we made an alliance of Minutemen and myself, OMG Dynamite Dragons. Best name ever, maybe. Again, I made this at the beginning of ARK because that's what ARK accomplished. It was encompassing to me. Well, there wasn't much. I wasn't aware of ARK's story much, but I saw dragons, I saw dinos, and there was technology which led to aliens in my mind. So that's where my name came from. And so Muskie made an alliance with me, and so now I had 2 separate alliances, one with Exorcist and one with Minutemen. That was the name they called themselves. Bonita did log on, and there was some animosity between each other from what was going on in chat that I saw. He was pretty much like, WTF, bro, what the heck is this? And so I don't know, they didn't really butt heads. I pretty much think that Bonita just washed his hands of the situation and was like, all right, you guys do you. And so Minutemen ended up being in control of Muskie's base on the north near Carno Island. I think they took the Oasis. I'm not too sure. That could have still been Exorcist at the point. No, it might have still been Exorcist. They had the Oasis base. Oh, no, Oasis. They had the base north of the Oasis, which was Muskie's main base. They had the base right below the Center Metal Farm. And then another member of Muskie's people named Annie. Now, this was two people, might have been boyfriend, girlfriend, not too sure. They were sharing the same account. So Annie's character, the character named Annie, was on like 24/7. So that character ended up building a base just south of mine in the Redwood area. I'm not too sure if the Redwood was in the game at the point. It might have been. And yeah, it should have been in the game at the point. So they ended up building the base in the Redwoods, just south of my base. And they set up a pretty big base. Now this was a little off-putting for me because, again, I was a little upset. Not that it was like I was a little miffed because I like both of these guys, and I wasn't, it wasn't really my place. This was just my personal opinions. I was like, why are you guys fighting? We have a good thing going here. Don't mess it up. And so that's what was happening. It was a little greedy of me. I don't know. And so I liked Exorcist. I liked Exorcist people, and then I liked Muskie's people. I liked Muskie. Annie and I I don't know which Annie it was at the time. I don't know if it was the boyfriend or the girlfriend, but I had dealings with Annie a lot. I think kibble trades or stuff. I don't know. I was very heavy into giving kibble. I'm not too sure there was breeding at this point. Yeah, I didn't breed at all. I didn't like breeding. It was way to the beginning of this video. I covered it. I think I covered it. My opinions of breeding. But yeah, and so I mostly dealt in kibble. I had a lot of dinos. I had the base, and it was pretty much easy for me to get eggs and tame stuff. And I was in a pretty central location, so I was able to get pretty decent dinos, decent amount of dinos of different types from the different biomes, and tame them up pretty easily. Barely any communes. And so anyway, Muskie had the base in the north. Annie now had the base in the south. They also had the base, a base below Blue Obby. That was one of Muskie's people that ended up going to Minutemen. And I think Minutemen also took over Herb. And so Exorcist was left with Carnal Island, which was Vader and his partner's base. And they were played active. Fight High had his base on the columns. He was somewhat active. Bonita had his base in the lake. He logged in every so often, but the little fallout they had in the splitting, he's very rarely started to log in at this point. Other Exorcist members would occasionally pop in, see how things are going, reminisce about old times, and then log out with either Vader or Fi-Hi or some of Muskie's people. Again, they were still friendly terms. They didn't really have like a falling out to the point where they went to war. I'm not sure if Exorcist could have got the people, but I think they could have if they wanted. This comes into play later. From mainly the Bob. And so they kind of were like amicable between each other. They had a decent split. And so then it was Minutemen, Exorcist, myself, and then some of the other little tribes on the map. And then we'll fast forward a bit. Vader's base ended up so we'll go back a little bit. Scorched Earth that came out, and during this point it was Minutemen, Vader, and the remaining members of Exorcist, Fi-Hi. and myself. Scorched Earth came out. I had my whole issue with Scorched Earth where my character got deleted. Uh, and so my original Scorched Earth server that I was playing on, I bailed on. And then I don't remember who it was. I think it might have been Annie or Muskie, or it could have been Bacon, or it could have been Shees. But somebody invited me to go to the Scorched Earth server 685 on the EU 685 EU of Scorched Earth to go play with Vader, or the mix between Exorcist and Miniman. So they actually made a alliance of tribe, or they forged together and switched over to Scorched Earth. And so Minutemen were mainly running things on 321 the island server. Exorcist existed, but they weren't really there in full force. And so we kind of all went, or I was invited to join them on, I think I was even invited to join them before, but I had already started on a different Scorched Earth with Fam 1 and Fam 2. We all got super excited about Scorched Earth, and it was a good DLC. Oh my god, was the starting in Scorched Earth was the terror bird terrorizing. I mean, death was like within 5 seconds of spawning on Scorched Earth. It was a good DLC in my opinion, although there was a lot of controversy behind it. That's a whole different thing anyway. And so I went to them. Well, okay. So my character got deleted. Fam 1, Fam 2. That was pretty much the end. We pretty much bailed. Fam 1 and Fam 2 just left. When my character got deleted, that left me in a weird spot for 2 weeks, where I lost ownership of my main base, and so that was the whole thing. But anyway, it all ended up working out. I made a video covering that too. I don't remember. Anyway, really, yeah, not getting into it at this point. But so I ended up, long story short, I ended up going to Exorcist server, Scorched Earth server with Minutemen. And so I ended up joining them. They had everything set up where everything was personal in the tribe. So I really had no problem with it. So I set up my own little base. Fam 1 ended up joining me a little bit. He came back a little bit. This was like a month after Scorched Earth was out. He came back to test Scorched Earth again because I had built another base, which I'll cover later. maybe the emphasis on the baby, because I did record some footage of me building another monstrosity ish, but it was, yeah, anyway. So I was on that server on Scorched Earth with Exorcist, which was Vader, Bacon, Shees. Bacon and Shees were the main people, and Annie. Vader had ownership of the tribe, so it's mostly an Exorcist thing because I had to split them up. It pretty much became Exorcist and Minutemen, even though they were one thing at one point. And so that is how I became closer to them. Not really so much Vader. Vader at some point stopped playing. Oh, okay. Well, I guess this goes back to it. We could go back to the island now, where old enemies of Exorcist, back when Exorcist was a monstrous force, they came back in force. The nefarious people, the ones that were using third-party programs to have an unfair advantage, they came back in force and were essentially only aiming for Exorcist because that's all they knew. They didn't touch me, which was the force they came back with. It was a little weird. They didn't touch me, and they didn't touch Minutemen, from what I understand. But the only base, unfortunately, was Fi-Hi's on the pillar and Vadars that were still active of Exorcist, and they took a big Kraken-sized harpoon to a Vader's boat and essentially wiped Vader off the island. Bonita and Bob, the Bob, did come back to try to help Vader, I think. But it was pretty much over by the time they logged in. These guys completely wiped out the boat base. And so Vader was on Scorched Earth now, most of the time with his partner, and then it was Annie, Muskie, and then the rest of the Minutemen, Bacon and Cheese. We were on Scorched Earth, and a lot of people mainly switched to Scorched Earth, but I rectified the situation with my base. I got ownership back, and so I was playing between the two. Fam 1 was mostly on Scorched Earth at this point whenever he logged in. And so this was the beginning of a arduous time on the island server, 321. So Exorcist pretty much got removed from the map. The existing Exorcist got removed from the map. There were still some bases here and there. Minutemen was split between the island and Scorched. And then there was my base on the island. And so what ended up happening was we were getting server transfers were in at this point because Scorched Earth was in, obviously. So we were getting, this was the beginning of the join a server, hit, and then take things off of it and leave. For my portion of the server, or the server cluster. It wasn't a cluster, but this was the beginning of it for me on 321, where people would join the server, attack bases, take the loot, and then bail off the server. And so this was happening more frequently. Minutemen was having problems defending these attacks, and then I would join in to do what I could to help repel these attacks. So there was a lot of boat battles where they would set up little boat turrets, and then they would just go around and hitting on the bases on the island or on the outside of the island, and then sometimes they'd move inward. And so this is when I would start actively helping try to repel attacks. Because at this point I was just minding my own business, doing my own thing. I was enjoying Scorched and still building my base on the island. But I think my base might have been capped at this point. I'm not too sure when that update hit, but I wasn't able to build on my base, so I started to feel like this might be the end of my base. And so I was actively causing problems for defending the server, or I was putting myself out there before, which I would usually just keep my head low unless they attacked me directly. And so now if they joined and were attacking other people, when Minutemen would go out, I would go out with them and help repel the people on the server, or help defend the people on the server against these other attackers that are coming from outside. And so at some point, Muskie's base, well, okay, we go back a little bit. A group of people on the East Coast ended up merging with Minutemen. They built a decent sized base, and there was like 5 to 6 of these guys. They ended up joining with Minutemen. I'd say Minutemen had like 15 to 20 people now, somewhat actively, maybe 10 to 15. Again, didn't keep track. And so we would actively have attackers of like 4 people, 4 to 8 people, sometimes 10 people. They would just come in, actively hit bases, and then take out or take off. And then at some point, these extra people that joined Minutemen, these 5 to 8 extra people, 5 to 6, they were getting attacked by one of these groups, a larger one. This was like 6 to 8 people on a boat base. They were actively attacking. I went over to help defend them. And then we repelled a little bit. I tried to play ARK as an RTS, real-time strategy a little bit with my dinos. Didn't end up working out so well since you needed riders to be you needed to ride a dino for the dino to be most effective. And so I was on a Quetzal trying to guide my Gigas through Gigas? Old habits die hard. Trying to guide my Gigas on attacking and then coming back and attacking and coming back. And so through commands I brought over like 5 to 6 Gigas. Oh my god, Gigas. That's why I started calling them for some reason. I don't know why. That wasn't their name. It was just the nickname I gave them. At least that wasn't Gigas. And so so I tried to help defend these guys that just recently joined Minutemen. It didn't go so well. I did help delay them getting to the base, but they ended up getting to the base and killing them, a lot of stuff. But they ended up taking a lot of stuff and moving it to Annie's base, which was just south of mine. So I was throwing my my name and the hat out there for people to have beef with that were attacking the server. And eventually what ended up happening is I think those guys, or maybe a different group, not too sure what group it exactly was, or it could have been a mix of those guys and my group. I'm pretty sure they're the same guys. It's hard to tell because a lot of their names were blocks and I didn't really keep track of Steam names or anything like that. So when they'd pop up in chat or when I'd see them, it was a lot of block lettering. And so these guys ended up coming back later and taking out Muskie's base. And when that happened, Muskie quit. He was done and watched. They had been alpha for like maybe 8 months at this point, 6 months, who knows. So they had been alpha for a long time. They had taken over from Exorcist, and so he pretty much, when he lost his base, he said, I'm done. And so now Annie became the two Annies, which was just one Annie, the two people that were playing Annie's character. The character Annie. They became the leader of Minutemen, and Minutemen was down to like 6 to 10 people, I would say, with the new people that just joined, maybe 10 to 15 with the new people. A lot of Minutemen people were maining Scorched Earth now, which was Bacon and She's. And so with that, the island was suffering quite a bit. These attacks, boat attacks, and hit and run raids from different servers were becoming way more frequent. And eventually, where this thing starts to culminate, where my ramblings start to come together and start to come to a point, is a big force. I'd say 15 to 20 people. I'm pretty sure these were the people that wiped Muskie's base and were attacking the people that recently joined Minutemen. They attacked Minutemen's Blue Ob base and wiped it out, and then set up their own base, a fob, if you will. And then this is where it gets hairy, because at this point, a force of this size has not attacked 321 against Minutemen. So this was a decent group, 10 to 15 people against the Minutemen's 15 to 20 people against the Minutemen's 10 to 15 people, maybe even 5 or 6 to 10 people. And so Minutemen was getting pushed hard. And so I ended up joining, trying to repel these guys, because this was like, if Minutemen looked like they were losing, and it was like definitely my base was about to be obliterated after Minutemen, because these guys did not like me either. They didn't like anybody. This is how they played. They came in and killed. So this looked like a server wipe force, maybe even a server takeover. I'm not too sure. Pretty sure I was getting wiped. So this was definitely like end all be all. So I joined pretty heavily in on the fight here. I was fighting them, trying to fighting against their base, killing their guys, and Minutemen ended up struggling. Most of the main Minutemen that were on Scorched Earth ended up coming back to help to defend the island. I was defending the island. And a couple others that these guys were just wreaking havoc on from Blue Obby were also coming to a fight. And so Minutemen was struggling, and I don't know who it was. I don't know if it's Annie. I don't know if Annie got in touch with Muskie, but somehow somebody got in touch with Bob, the OG Exorcist Bob. And Bob was like, oh, you guys need some help? Okay, I'll bring some people. And oh, did Bob bring some people. He brought in the Hurt. And so this is when I didn't know who these people were at this point, but this is when a group called Precision starts to enter the fray. I didn't know who they were. Some of the people were actively streaming on Twitch that came to help repel these guys. And so there was some friendly fire. I might add that portion or a clip of that to this video. I'm not too sure at this point. Since this is already long, I don't know if I'm going to add it, put an overlay. I don't know. Anyway, Bob brings the Hurt. The OG Bob. The OG Killer Bob. This isn't a beach Bob. There's the beach Bobs, and then there's Bob, and this is the Bob. And so Bob brings in the Hurt. And so these people come to back up Minuteman and myself, essentially, but even though I'm just there, I wasn't really, I don't know how effective I was. I was there. I attempted to help Minutemen the best I could. Again, for my own benefit as well. Or my perceived benefit. Anyway. And so these guys come in. We pretty much go to town on Blue Ob. I'm attacking. There's some friendly fire. I do end up getting killed because there was a mix of getting people into Minutemen or into making their own alliance or in their own tribe and then making an alliance and then them combined together. But they ended up joining Minutemen, I think. I'm not too sure how it happened, but they went from everyone being unable to tell who's who to most of us being able to be in an alliance and versus the people that had taken Blue Ob. And so I did end up well, if I put the video in, I'll show the friendly fire and how it got resolved and stuff. But anyway, all of us together, mostly these new guys, end up with Minutemen taking out the Blue Ob attackers. So like, I'm relieved at this point. I'm like, oh my god, I thought this was it. My base was done. I'm not too sure how I felt about my base at the point. I'm pretty sure I was already capped then. So I was pretty much had a what the hell attitude, a YOLO attitude about it. And so I just threw myself into the fire, right? And so I wasn't particularly upset if the worst case scenario did happen, if Minutemen got taken out and then my base was the next on the chopping block. But anyway, what ended up happening is thanks to Bob, whoever contacted Bob brought the Hurt, and then the Hurt these guys right off Blue Obby. And so we pretty much all said thanks, GG, and then went back to our bases. And then this is where it gets a little weird, sorta. But the guys that Bob brought in decided to stay on the server. And then this is where Precision comes into it. Now, I had some dealings with Precision after the defense of 321. I would trade kibble with them. Funny enough, I had no idea who these guys were. I just thought they were random people that came to help. And so I was like, maybe I'll give them a Quetzal or two or something. But I mostly ended up just giving them kibble. I'd see them building. I would want to help them, but then I'd be like, nah. It looks like they got it. Because, again, I was well established at this point. I had Quetzals, I had Dinos, I had kibble. And then the only other force on the server was, Giga's the only other force on the server. The main force was Minutemen. And then again, a lot of them were spending a lot of their time on Scorched Earth. And so I was like, maybe, because they pretty much saved the server. These guys came in. I'm pretty sure at the request of Bob to come in and save the server. So they saved the server, and I guess they decided to stay. They started popping up about a week after the whole thing, and so then they formed Precision. I gave them kibble off and on. Shout out to harassment. Most of my dealings was with them. I really didn't mix with Precision. There was another guy, Zunit. He was the leader of Precision. From my perspective, pretty sure he was the leader. We had talks. I joined their Discord a little bit. I wasn't in a lot of communication with them, but that's how it ended up happening. And so they helped defend the server. Then they ended up staying on the server. They formed Precision, and then it was Minutemen and Precision were the main powers. And then it was just little old me and my base. And so that was pretty much the makeup of the island at that point. And then I'm pretty sure there was very little other tribes at this point, because these hit and run attacks pretty much decimated the population on 321, and anyone that was on the server was pretty much being wiped out within like a day or two just from these hit and run attacks. And then these big attacks that took out Vadars base and that took out Muskie's base, and then the blue orb attack just pretty much decimated the small tribe population on the server. So there wasn't very many people left other than Minutemen, Precision that just joined, and myself. At this point on Scorched Earth, I think Vader had left Scorched Earth as well, and I'm pretty sure tribe ownership either got transferred to Annie, which was the leader of Minutemen on 321, or got transferred to Bacon or Shees. I'm not too sure. Shout out again to Bacon or Shees from Minutemen. And so 321, the island server was now safe, and there was a lot of battles going on Scorched. There were a lot of attacks, but the main alpha on Scorched was a tribe called Destiny. And so I joined with I don't even remember what we called ourselves on Scorched Earth. But long story short, Scorched Earth and Island were now pretty much on point, although there was a lot of battles going on Scorched. I lost a few Gigas on Scorched to transferring them from the island to Scorched to fight some of the battles over there. And so now we started bullying it down. At some point, Precision essentially took over as alpha on 321. They were the main force. They had Iceberg base, which was pretty much unraidable, and Minutemen only had Annie's base, which was just directly south of mine in the Redwood, which if I jumped on an RG would take me less than a minute to fly to. And then they had Herbivore, and then they had a somewhat main base, the Blue Orb base. I had some dealings with the guy there, but I don't remember. That was pretty much his main base, but it's pretty big. Just below Red Orb, just below Red Orb, in the south, on that little island back there. And so they had Annie's base, that guy's base, Herbivore, and nobody really built on Carno. At this point, it was pretty much just the dead shell of Vader's base and what was left of Exorcist. And then what ended up happening was somebody done goofed. I don't know what exactly caused it. From my perspective, it looked like everybody was getting along. Minutemen and Precision were doing lots of trades. They were trading eggs, kibble. I was trading kibble with Precision. I was still doing off and on with Minutemen on 321, but I was also playing with them on Scorched Earth. And so from my perspective, everybody was getting along. There was a problem in the world other than these outside forces that were sometimes less on 321 now. Precision pretty much was on point. These guys, like, they meant business. Destiny on 865 though, Scorched Earth EU, they were having some trouble defending Scorched Earth. Scorched Earth was just a totally different beast. Those attacks they would come in, set up huge bases. We'd battle for like a day, maybe a day or two. And so Scorched Earth was getting hit quite regularly. My base was getting hit. Sadly, it was mostly stone, some metal. The main thing was metal, but a lot of it was stone. Just because I was splitting my time between the main defense of 321 and my island base and my base on Scorched Earth. So my base on Scorched Earth was heavily suffering. So if that got hit, that had to wait to be repaired and stuff. But I did eventually fix it. And so I was splitting my time. Everything looked like it was going well. I was getting wyvern eggs. I had just finished breeding a wyvern on 865 when or 685. I don't remember what the server was. It might have been 685. I know I got the there might be more videos in the future of both of these things because I got the file downloaded, but I haven't got around to that yet. You know, it's not like it's been 4 years. I mean, 4 years. Oh god, it's been 4 years, hasn't it? Anyway, and so everything from my perspective was hunky-dory. To use an old outdated term. It was real pleasant. It was real swell. We were doing fine until it wasn't. Until it all went bottoms up. When Precision decided to I'm not saying anything, you know, if I was in their position I might have done the same thing. Decided to ally raid Annie's base from Minutemen, and essentially wiped Annie's base out while they were in alliance. I was online at the time, was unaware of what was happening. You'd think I would be, but nope. Until all of a sudden, I think it might have been Bacon. It was somebody from Minutemen who was also on at the time, which surprisingly, because a lot of them were in Scorched Earth, was like WTF in chat, and then immediately left the alliance. And now is me and Precision in an alliance. Actually, I'm not sure how the alliance may work up was. I'm pretty sure it was Precision. I'm pretty sure Bob brought Precision into the Exorcist alliance. I guess I could log in. I could get the server up and running and look at my old alliance things. But I'm pretty sure Bob brought Precision into the Exorcist alliance with me and Minutemen. And then Minutemen made a separate alliance. Actually, Minutemen might have, well, I'll get into this, but Minutemen made a separate alliance with me at some point. I don't remember exactly when that was, but they just said, hey, in case something happens. And I think it might have been during the breakup between them and Exorcist. But again, if it really went down between Minutemen and Exorcist, even though I liked some of the people from Minutemen, I probably would have been on Exorcist. I definitely would have been on Exorcist side if that went down and they asked me to get involved or whatever. Because I liked Bonita. I was down. I liked Fi. I liked Vader, even though Vader and I rarely had contact. I was mostly on Exorcist side of that, but when they split, they figured it out themselves. But they made an alliance. Minutemen made an alliance with me at some point. Don't remember when it was or the circumstances. So I had two alliances, one with Minutemen and myself, and then one with Exorcist, Minutemen, and Precision. I'm pretty sure that's how the alliance makeup was. And so Minutemen left the Exorcist alliance, and I think it was Bacon that said WTF in the chat. Like, what the heck is going on? So Annie's base gets demolished. So I fly up because I'm like, what's going on? What's happening? Because they're saying stuff in chat. Precision saying stuff in chat. I'm unaware. I was just at my base. I don't even remember what I was doing. So I jump on an RG. No, I jump on a Terra. And so I fly to Annie's base, get there within 20 seconds. And I kind of approach at the side. And I see a lot of blue precision names. Because, again, I'm still in an alliance with precision. But now I'm also in a separate alliance with Minutemen. And Minutemen left the main alliance. And so I'm able to freely enter the base, which didn't have any turrets. The power had already been taken out. The base was pretty much already gone. Dinos were being murdered. And so I'm looking at precision, murdering dinos. I don't know if they saw me, because I kind of kept my distance a little bit, just eyed them with a spyglass. I was like, oh, so this is happening. Interesting. Okay. And then I flew back to my base. Then I'm thinking, well, gosh darn, what's going to happen next? Because now I don't know. This is the conundrum. This is where I'm like, uh-oh, SpaghettiO. What's happening here? And so Precision is now wiping out Minutemen's main 321 island base. But no, essentially I have already wiped out the base. And now I'm in a precarious spot of whose side am I on? Because on one side, I'm like, oh, these guys essentially saved the server from this invading force that will have wiped everybody out anyway, most likely. Or do I go with the guys I'm on mostly friendly terms with? I definitely like Bacon. I definitely like Cheese. Annie, we were cordial, but I don't know which Annie I was dealing with most of the time, but I feel like Annie and I got along, but it was a little weird sometimes. Again, it was two people playing my character, so I don't know. I guess I could be expected with that. But anyway, so now I'm split. I'm like, Jesus, the great space Jesus, what is happening? The great space Jesus. It's like, Jesus Christ, it's Jason Bourne. No, anyway. So I'm like, what's happening? What's going on? Why is Precision wiping Minutemen off the face of the map? And so I kind of just hunkered down. And this is where you can kind of see a little bit of it in the Valentine's Day of this long video that you see playing. You could see vaults in my behemoth gates. Now, when Annie's base got struck, I pretty much went into defensive mode because I had no idea what was going on. I was like, okay, everything just went tossed up in the air. It's all on the board now. It's all on the floor. Everything's falling apart. And so I started taking all the metal I had, making vaults. I started placing them in between my behemoth gate doors. I was preparing, and then I started to gather my dinos, and I started to group them up into little hate balls and preparations for whatever was going to happen, because I didn't know what was going on. This was like bizarre to me. And so now you have Minutemen versus Precision. I didn't even know this like sparked out of the blue from my perspective. As I just thought, okay, maybe Precision wants to be. They were already the alpha essentially. They were the ones defending the server when it was getting hit and run. Although Minutemen was joining in, so it was like a group thing. But they were like the main defending force at this point, because a lot of Minutemen was on 865, if that is the right server number. server number. Scorched Earth 865 ETO. I think, pretty sure that was it. Maybe it's 6. Anyway, so they were already pretty much the alpha, in my opinion. So maybe they were just finalizing the deal. And so I was really torn. Because, again, I respected these guys for coming in and defending it like they did. And then everything looked like, from my perspective, everything was fine. I guess it wasn't fine. It is not fine. And so Annie's base was gone. And then they go to Bacon's base, which was, oh, I think, yeah, Bacon built where the Purple Haters built, just a little bit south of it, in my 6900-hour base tour. People like to build in that area. I don't know. Anyway, that used to be Stone Raiders, and then it was Bacon, and yeah. Anyway, so they took out Annie's base, and they went to Bacon's base, and they went to Red Obby, the base, that little island down there, and then there was a base in between the volcano and the mountain, which was the last fight, essentially for Minutemen. So how it went down like this. They took out Annie's base. Annie logged in, said some stuff, and then logged out and never came back. So I'm pretty sure Annie quit at that point, the two Annies, or the Annie that was two people. And then Bacon quit when Bacon's base got destroyed, and he went full, Bacon and Cheese went full Scorched Earth. And then the same happened to the rest of the Minutemen people. They either quit altogether from what, I didn't keep track of these guys, but they definitely left 3-2-1. And then I didn't see some of them on Scorched Earth. And so I don't know. I'm pretty sure they quit. Don't know if they quit the game. They definitely had 3-2-1. They definitely didn't go back to Scorched Earth. And so that left me and Precision. Now, one of the main fighters of Precision, they essentially asked me to store some dinos that they, some Brontos that they had used to attack one of the bases, I think Bacon's base, at my base. Because again, we were still in an alliance at this point. Now, I was having some bad thoughts. Because again, I was still grouped with Minutemen on Scorched Earth. So I was like, I'm still in alliance. They alliance rated you, or at least to take out Annie's base. After Annie's base was in the middle, or Annie's base was essentially gone when Minutemen left the group alliance. So yeah, they essentially alliance rated Annie's base, wiped that out, and then went town on the rest of the bases. And so I was still in alliance with Precision, and Precision had the Iceberg base. That was their main base. And so I was like, well, I'm not sure whose side I'm on at this point still, because I still like both of them, and I pretty much was remain neutral. But it was starting to wind down, and some of the Minutemen members were whispering little sweet nothings into my ear, like, you're next. We've been told that they're going to wipe all of our allies. And I was like, well, they haven't left my alliance. And then I was thinking, well, I saw what they did to Annie's base. Maybe this is all preparation. And then I was thinking, well, I'm just one person. They could take me out. I mean, I don't know. They could have definitely taken me out. Well, it would have been easier or not, I don't know. Definitely my base, there was no discussion whether or not they could have wiped my base, though. Whether it had been easy, whether or not they would have been my 6,900-hour base video, I don't know. But I was having thoughts like, maybe I should be like, hey, guys that I still play up on Scorched Earth, you want to take some of my stuff and we go return the favor to Precision? But nobody, even though they were saying that I was going to be next, and the threats that were being told them, nobody really asked for me to participate. They kind of just were like, hey, like if Minutemen had asked me to participate, I actually might have. I probably would have been like, okay, I got a plan. Let's go do this, yada, 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 yada. But they kind of, it was pretty much between Precision and Minutemen until this really finalized my decision. One of the main people that were helping Precision was a Twitch streamer, and I caught, so Minutemen is essentially wiped off the map at this point on 3-2-1. It's now me and Precision. Precision had asked me to store some dinos. I told them I wasn't comfortable with that. And so at this point, they left the alliance. Or at that point, they were like, okay, and they left the alliance with me. But the reason I decided to stay neutral at that point was during the fight between Miniman and Precision towards the end. Towards the end of the fight, back when they were taking out Bacon's base, um, I was looking into like what's happening. So I was watching one of the live streams, and so what I ended up finding out was is that they posted a picture. The guy that was live streaming posted a picture that they found on Minutemen's Discord, which I think was Exorcist Discord. I'm not sure. I didn't keep track of everyone's Discords. But I know Precision had Discord, and then I'm pretty sure Minutemen was using Exorcist Discord, or could have just been Minutemen's Discord. But they found a picture in that Discord that a person from Minutemen had evidently made that was essentially raid plans to take out Blue Obby. And so I was like, oh, so that was the antithesis for all of this. Minutemen made a picture planning, or who knows if it was a legit plan, planning to raid Precision, which that, talk about betrayal or confusion on my side, because we asked, well, not we, but they asked Precision to come in and help defend 321. Precision came and helped, but then Precision stayed, which that was a little awkward. But then Precision like defended the server and essentially became alpha, even though Minuteman was still there. But so I could kind of see how this started to develop now, where Minuteman was like, maybe we have a go at these guys. We didn't really ask them to stay, we just asked them for help, and now they're here. So this picture got made of plans to raid Iceberg Island. And so evidently Precision found this picture. Now later on I found out that it may have been Bob, because he had access to Precision's Discord, and he had access to Exorcist Discord or Minutemen's Discord. I'm not sure which Discord it was, but Minutemen was actively using this Discord. But I'm pretty sure Bob found the picture, because I'm pretty sure I remember one of the Minutemen people saying that Precision wasn't in their Discord, because there was a lot of confusion during the defense and yada yada, and so there was definitely separate Discords, but one person or a couple people had access to both Discords. So somebody from Precision got a hold of this picture, and I'm pretty sure Bob gave it to them. Bob was more on Precision side, and I could kind of see why Bob wanted Minutemen gone because of the whole split before. Because Bob was an OG Exorcist. Bob was an OG Exorcist, was one of Bonita's powerhouses back in the Exorcist Prime days, when they were taking out these exploiters that later came back and wiped out Vadars base, but that was a whole other thing. And so I'm pretty sure Bob passed along this picture from Precision's Discord, or from Minutemen's Discord to Precision. And so Precision, instead of waiting to be attacked, I guess, attacked preemptively and took Annie out. And so here I am listening to this on this Discord, seeing the picture, because they showed the picture. I'm pretty sure I have the footage, because I went back and I clipped it. I was like, oh man, they actually did this. And now everything started to make sense now. So I was like, okay, because from my perspective, it looked like Precision out of the blue just went and tried to wipe out Minutemen. And so that left a bad taste in my mouth. And so I was like, ugh. But then it turns out Minutemen was making plans to force Precision off the server. And so now Precision is justified. And so at that point, that's when I was like, okay, I'm just going to stay neutral. Now I didn't like either side. I didn't like the fact that Precision Alliance raided. And now I don't like the fact that Minutemen were preemptive, or were planning to attack Precision. Because from my perspective, Precision were the cool guys that came to help us defend 321. And yeah, they stayed, but they were also effectively defending 321. While when I was helping Minutemen, we were losing. It was a losing battle, even with the majority of us on the server trying to repel these forces. Um, and so I was like, well, they're actually helping, and they didn't look hostile at all. Everyone seemed to, from my perspective, was getting along until it actually went bottoms up and Precision attacked Danny's base. And then later I find out that the reason for that was because Minutemen had made plans. Little drawing. They made a cutout. I'll find the picture if I still have it, and then I'll post it in here somewhere in this video. A little cutout of Iceberg Island, and we're planning to either force them off the server or attempt to force them off the server. Honestly, I'm not too sure if Minutemen actually could have beaten Precision in a full-on fight where Minutemen started it. I'm not sure how that would have went. Pretty sure Precision was in full force at the time, definitely a stronger force. But yeah, so I was disappointed. It's disappointing both sides. And so then that's when, at the end, when they were finishing up one of the last men's bases, and they were like, can we store dinos in your base? At this point, I was being told that I might have been next. That a Minutemen person was told that all allies were going to be destroyed, and Precision was doing a full server wipe, and they were going to take over. And Precision really wasn't communicative towards me. Funny enough, I was kind of left out of it for the most part. I didn't intervene. I was planning maybe to side with Minutemen back when they were attacking Bacon's base. It was Annie's base, Bacon's base, the base near Red Obby, and then the final base between Volcano and the Metal Mountain. And so back when they were attacking Bacon's base, I kind of wanted to side with Bacon because I really liked Bacon. I wasn't aware of Minutemen's amazing art skills at the time, and so I was really kind of siding because of the Allied Alliance attack and side attack, which it makes sense now because why wait if someone's picking plans to attack you, why leave the alliance? Why not use it to your advantage? And so at that point, I was planning if someone asked, if any of the Minutemen people were like, hey, we need help, I was going to be like, okay, whatever. I guess this is it. This is how it goes. But no, that everyone kept it neutral with me, but I was still being fed information from either side a little bit, but nobody was actively communicating with me their plans, probably because I was a third party in all of this again, another third party. And so it's all about the third party. And so when the final base finally did fall for Minutemen and Precision asked to store dinos in my base, I was unsure exactly what their motives were, if they really just wanted to store dinos, their Brontos. Because again, we were still in alliance at this point. I was still in alliance with Precision up until Minutemen was forced off the server and they asked to store the dinos. I was still having ideas like, well, not at the end, but halfway through the battle at Bacon's base, I was like, this could be an option. Because after Bacon's base fell, before I found out about the picture, I was like, you guys want revenge for Annie? That's what I was thinking, but I didn't ask them or put forward the idea. And not that I was particularly on Annie's side, but I was definitely on Bacon and She's side. So when Bacon's base fell, and they kind of had it out, because Bacon, like I said, most of the Minutemen were going hard on Scorched Earth, and so from what I saw, they were pretty much like, they brought nothing in from Scorched Earth to the island to defend their bases. So it was like a last hurrah from what I saw. Everybody was going out like one at a time. They're going hard at their bases, defending it, and then once the bases fell, they would just leave. And so that's how I saw it. So they didn't really be like, hey, come help defend, we're losing at 3-2-1 or anything like that. They were kind of just like, hey, this is it. This is how we say goodbye to 3-2-1. And so from there, we could just go to the end. I find out about the picture, and then that's when I decide to fully stay neutral and just let the chips land where they lie. Roll the dice for wherever the dice lands, whether it turns into them precision wiping me out as well, or them being cool and being like, hey, yeah, you can stay. We got no problems with you. And so got to the end. They were like, hey, can we store our dinos at your base? And I was like, nah, I'm not too happy with how either side turned out. And I'm pretty sure I wasn't recording any of this, but pretty sure I was like, I don't really like how any of this went down, and I prefer to stay neutral, because once I found out about the picture, everything made sense. So originally, from my perspective, like I said, I thought precision kind of screwed them over by ally attacking. But then now that when I found out about the picture later, it was like, why would you wait? Why not just attack when you attack? And so it made sense, but I didn't like how any of it went down. I didn't like how Minutemen was planning to attack precision, because that made no sense to me as well. I didn't know who drew the picture. I still don't know who drew the picture or who were coming up with the plans. But yeah, I didn't like how any of that went down. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna stay neutral, and if they attack me, I'm just gonna have it out then, because that's how I've always played on 3-2-1, where I didn't really like AFK raiding. I didn't like active raiding someone else's base, but what I did like is if somebody came to my base, I defended my base until Kingdom Come, or until the heavens fell down on it, or it turned into a hellscape. But that's how I played, so that's what I was waiting for. So when they asked to store dinos on my base, I was like, nah fam, sorry. I mean, if things went down differently, if I knew about the picture earlier, I probably would have chosen precision side. I don't know. That's actually, if they came to me beforehand and were like, hey, if someone from precision came to me and was like, hey, we found out this battle plan from Minutemen, which side do you want to take? I probably would have been more on precision side. I would have been like, what the fuck? What is this? And so I probably would have been like, hey Bacon, what the heck's going on, man? Why are you guys trying to defend or attack precision that defended our server? And then I probably would have been more on precision side, and I probably would have I probably would have been asking questions like, hey, what's going on? Even though it really didn't concern me much, other than the fate of my base, potentially. And so yeah, so at this point, I probably would have been on precision side, but still had my qualms about actually joining a side. But it actually went down for how it went down, the best that could have went down for all parties, other than Minutemen, likely. Although Minutemen, I do feel, was on the way out. But yeah, I didn't like it. So when they said, hey, can we store dinos, I told them no, bad taste in my mouth, all that. And so they pretty much were like, okay, that's fine. And so they said they'll just store their dinos somewhere else. And then that's when they came to me, or they were saying in chat, oh, we're gonna have to leave the alliance too. And I was like, okay, yeah, that makes total sense. That's probably safe. Although at this point, any ideas about giving them another Annie opportunity was out of my head, or getting a payback for how they did Annie's base. That was gone. As soon as I found out about the picture, I was like, nope, don't want anything to do with this, and kind of washed my hands of the situation, unless I was going to be actively attacked. So they left the alliance, and then they ended up being really chill. I mean, I went to Scorched Earth, and Minutemen was chill there. I was still playing on 321 the island, and Precision was chill. They didn't bother me at all. Although, funny enough, the attacks on my base increased a little bit by some of the smaller tribes, or there was less of when these attackers came back. There was less of a united front to like spot them out immediately and then kick them off the server. So they kind of ninjaed their way in, where went back to attacking little tribes and myself sometimes, until Precision got wind of it, and then they would go at Precision and Precision would go at them. So yeah, everything was pretty chill with Precision. And then long story short, I ended up making another alliance with Precision, and that's how my 6,900 hour base tour movie thingy came to be, when those guys were ballers and came and helped me defend my base against the purple haters. And so yeah, that was the thing. That was fun. That was a good end to, well, my base didn't end after that really. Wildcard killed my base by killing 321, so there was that. But yeah, everything was pretty chill. And so the long story short was somebody done goofed. And that's how I thought my base was going to be wiped, and that's why my base was in the state it was, with safes, dino gates, or with vaults in the dino gates, and with my dinos all grouped together, and that made it really hard to try to breed, because it wasn't as easy as just how it would have been if I had them all in their spots instead of in those hate balls. And so yeah, that is the long of it, and that's how my base was almost destroyed. And so yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, so there's another part of this video at the end that is from 4 years ago. Oh god. And thanks for watching, and hope you enjoy the next part. Just kidding, you thought this was the end? I'm not done yet. Do you know how many more videos I'm going to make? I'm going to make all of the videos. There's not even going to be enough space on YouTube servers to handle all of the videos I'm going to make. I'm going to make so many videos, and this may all be lies. Just kidding. I do plan to get back into making videos. I do have a lot. I have like 8 terabytes of recorded footage. So I gotta get to I had planned making more videos, potentially new videos, now that I am aware of the file save. So you know, there may be more to come. I just have to get around to actually making it. So there is that. Thanks for watching, and I will hopefully see you in the next one. Alright, as a little bonus, since I forgot to show off my actual maturation area, or how much hypothermal and hyperthermal protection I get, I've decided to add this little part here at the end of it. So let's go ahead and get into this little tour. So the way I have things set up, once I refill my canteen, take a little detour right now. Say hi to my Giga. Whip them. Or attempt to whip them. No, they were whipped. Yep, see, totally whipped. Okay, so in this area here, now as you can see, you could probably tell by the different color patterns that one side has the full effect of my air conditioners and one side doesn't. Now on the outer portions here, you still get a pretty decent effect of the air conditioners. Now that is very similar to the amount of air conditioners I have up there. So even up to here, I still get a little bit of an effect of the air conditioners. And up to here, I shouldn't really be getting much of anything. I still get a little bit for the hypothermal, but the hyperthermal, it's pretty much non-existent. which makes sense because air conditioners should only go to foundation links or to ceiling links. So this, I would say, is the perfect spot to be in, right here, and we should get, nope, that's not it. Let's go up a little bit more, and there we go. Now really, I went down a little bit. Let's see, I think I could get 5,500. 53, 54.8, almost a little bit back, 55, there we go. Okay, so we got 5,500 on the hypothermal and 5,300 on the hyperthermal. It really doesn't matter how much over you have. It doesn't increase the speed of incubation or anything like that. It will, though. The higher it is, I have found reduces the amount of food and water that depletes. So if you have a lot of air conditioners and let's say the desert closed, and you should be able to AFK for a good deal of time without having to refill your water or food. Which is a little gripe that I have, that if you're completely still not moving, without any air conditioners or protection whatsoever, you will die pretty quickly. Which is a little issue that I kind of have a problem with, but whatever. It kind of entices you to build something and acquire clothes to let you AFK, I guess. I don't know, but yes, that is a thing. I do have fridges in here. Most of them are pretty empty. They will hold meat. I do have 2 troughs which are a little damaged since some of the structure was already here before I expanded it. I did add 6 industrial grills to cook the meat, turrets for protection, salt, or some vessels for salt, and then some preserving bins for possible wyverns, and yeah, some wyvern eggs. Most of this is actually just Troodon food, but there are some decent eggs in it. That pretty much covers everything up here. There's nothing really up there yet. I'm probably just gonna throw a smithy and probably a fab up there. I'm not really sure. This is part of the original structure that used to be a turret tower. Shut that without the inner turrets. Then I kind of just made viewing areas. So this area isn't really secure if the main door gets broken into or anything like that. I haven't connected the taps up to what are going to have to be reservoirs, since I wasn't able to find a good way to get infinite water to this without it looking quite ugly, I want to say, or distasteful. Was my original thought, but let's go ahead and get to the underbelly where all the magic happens, where we get our impressive cooling and heating. So I did section off the complete bottom from the outside, so you can't really get under without having to blow through, in some cases, double walls. And so it is completely sealed off from the bottom. Now to do that, I did use fence posts, and so that, in my opinion, works pretty well. I don't really have an issue with the way it looks. It does have kind of a clean look to it from a distance. You can only really tell when you get up close to it. And so we come in here now, and we get to see the inner area of it. If I could get past my Giga heads. And so this is what the inside looks like. It does have its own personal power generator. And pretty much each ceiling has 4 air conditioners to it. And so there are quite a bit of air conditioners in there to give my incubation effect. And so yeah. And then I kind of repurposed the under area a little bit for my dung beetles. So they weren't as cluttered in the other area. And so yeah, this is the underbelly. I do have plans to put some defenses in here. But yeah, that is pretty much it for my maturation area. I do have plans, grand plans, meaningful plans. Meaningful? Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, so this is my maturation area. I did copy the same design, never mind the visual bug of the crop plots, but I did copy the same design over here. Not really sure what I'm going to do with this side yet, but I put a few smithies and fabs in there. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.